Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalam ala Imam al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan wa razaqna tiba'ah wa arina al-batila batilan wa razaqna ijtinaba. Beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another of our sittings. We shall be reviewing the tafsir of Surah Mulk. I have to review the tafsir because yesterday it wasn't recorded. Also, some of my favorite students didn't attend for some reason. This surah was revealed in Mecca. It has the characteristics of the Meccan surahs. Surah 67, the dominion. There are some surahs that are for some reasons. Some surahs are suitable for specific reasons. Surah the Cave saves you from the fitna of the Dajjal. Surah Waqiyah saves you from the fitna of poverty. Poverty is a fitna because the Prophet used to seek refuge from poverty. Our sister is taking the notes. Authentic Tawhid 3, please provide the hujjah if Authentic Tawhid 5 is not in the room. Surah the Cave saves you from the fitna of the Dajjal, and Surah Waqiyah saves you from the fitna of poverty. Ayatul Sleep and Ayatul Kursi also protects you from the jinn. Surah Baqarah saves you from the shaitan. Surah Baqarah saves your house from the shaitan. So the Rasul said, recite Surah Baqarah in your house, because any house in which Surah Baqarah is recited, the shaitan cannot enter that house. Surah Baqarah saves your house from the shaitan for 3 days. Surah Kafirun saves you from nifaq, hypocrisy. Surah Ikhlas saves you from shirk. Surah Kafirun saves you from hypocrisy. And Surah Kafirun is equal to a quarter of the Quran. Surah Ikhlas saves you from the fitna of shirk. Surah Ikhlas is equal to 1/3 of the Holy Quran. Surah Ikhlas is equal to 1/3 of the Holy Quran. Surah Mulk, and that is the surah we are gathered here today to explain. Surah Mulk saves you from the punishment of the grave. Surah the Jinn saves you from the Jinn. As for the kuls like Qul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas, saves you from the fitna of black magic, envy, and the evil eye. The kuls saves you from the fitna of black magic, envy, and the evil eye. The evil eye is also a type of envy. And whenever a person is stricken by the evil eye, the person who gave him the evil eye has to make wudu, and the leftover water from that person should be used to bathe the person. That is the cure for the evil eye. Because Sahaba gave another Sahaba the evil eye, and what was the cure? The person who gave him the evil eye has to make wudu, and the leftover water from the wudu has to be used to wash the other person, then he will be cured from his evil eye. The hadith I'm quoting can be found in the Muwatta of Imam Malik. Who is responsible for bringing the hadith hujjah? Because might be this dars will come. Who has the hadith files? Where is the hadith I just quoted? A man was taking a shower, and the other man looked at him and said, "What a wonderful body. His body looks like the body of a virgin." And the man was clear in complexion, light skin. And the man fell down from the evil eye, and the Prophet was upset and said, "Who gave him the evil eye?" And they said, "So and such a person." And the Rasul said, "You should make wudu, and the leftover water from the wudu." And then he was cured of the evil eye. That hadith is a famous hadith. It's in the Muwatta of Imam Malik, I think. Had put the earth to do wudu, then the person who had been afflicted would wash himself with the water. Okay, shukran. That is a cure for the evil eye, and the evil eye is envy. Okay, let us explain Surah Mulk, because we are getting here today to explain Surah Mulk. Please send out invites to everyone on your pause list so that they know that the dars has started. In this surah, Allah Ta'ala said, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim, Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk, wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Blessed is he in whose hand is the mulk, the dominion, and he is able to do all things. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk. Allah Ta'ala said, blessed is he. The word he means Allah. Somebody bring the ayah which I'm quoting. Surah Mulk, Surah 67 verse 1. Can somebody print the ayah on the screen? Blessed is he in whose hand is the mulk, the dominion. Wahu qadir, and he has power over all things. It means that Allah Ta'ala is a source of blessings. No bless except Allah. Okay, shukran for the ayah. Allah Ta'ala is a source of blessing. And when you read the Quran and you see he with the big H, the capital H, it is talking about Allah. And you are not allowed to say he and spell Allah with small h like that. That's haram. You have to say he with the big H. Not the small h, And you're not allowed to say God and spell God with the small g like that. That's haram. You have to say God with the big G, because God with the big G is Allah and God with the small g is a false deity, like a piece of stone or a piece of wood. And you're not allowed to call anyone he with the big H except Allah. If you call the angel Gabriel he with the big H like that, that is shirk. That is shirk. You're only allowed to call Allah he with a big H. If you call Allah God with the small g, that is haram. Because God with the small g means a false God. Blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion. Blessed is he. Okay, you found the hadith about the evil eye. Okay, it's a long hadith. I've already quoted the hadith. I do not wish to go into it. It's not even related to the topic. Blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion. Meaning that Allah Ta'ala is a source of barakah. Only Allah Ta'ala can bless. Sometimes a girl might marry against her parents' wishes, because she married from a different tribe or a different race. And they say to her, your marriage will never be successful because you didn't get your parents' blessings. But how can they bless? How can a Shiite or a Barelwi bless, or a Qadiani? Her parents are Qadiani or Shia or Barelwi or Goofy Sufi. They are not even inside the fold of Islam. They have kufr and shirk in their hearts and minds, and they have racism in their hearts and minds. Now, people who dabble in shirk, they're always racist. How can they bless? How can they bless? Allah is the source of barakah. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk. So Allah Ta'ala is blessed and He is the source of blessing. Now, it is possible for a human being to put a curse on you. That's quite possible. It is possible for a human being to put a curse on you, and the evidence is Surah Baqarah 159. Baqarah 159 is our evidence that it's possible for a man to put a curse on another man, or a woman to put a curse on someone. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَكْتُمُونَ مَا أَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالْهُدَى مِن بَعْدِ مَا بَيَّنَّاهُ لِلنَّاسِ فِي الْكِتَابِ أُولَٰئِكَ يَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَلْعَنُهُمْ اللَّاعِنُونَ. Tell the person to leave the room and come back. Verily, those who conceal the clear proofs, the evidences, and the guidance which we have sent down after we have made it clear for the people in the book, they are the ones cursed by Allah and cursed by the cursers. They are cursed by Allah and they are cursed by all those who have the power to curse. So even human beings can curse human beings. When the Rasul was sending Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, what did he say? وَاتَّقُوا الدَّعْوَةَ الْمَظْلُومِ. Fear the dua of the man who is oppressed. فَلَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. Because there is no barrier between him and his Lord. Fear the dua of the man who is oppressed, because there is no barrier between him and his Lord. If you rip off somebody's money, they can put a curse on you. If you marry a woman and didn't give her her dowry, even after consummating the marriage, she can put a curse on you. If they forgive you, the curse is lifted. So if people could not put curse on people, why did the Prophet say to Mu'adh ibn Jabal when he was sending him to Yemen, the Sahaba with the white teeth and the afro? He sported an afro with white teeth. Mu'adh ibn Jabal, what the Rasul said? Fear the dua of the man who is oppressed, because there is no barrier between him and his Lord. If he raises his hands to the skies and pray to Allah and cry to Allah, you are finished. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Allah answers the dua of three people: the father for his son, and this hadith also means the mother for the daughter or the mother for the son. Parents can make dua for their children and the dua will be answered. The traveler, the dua of the traveler, and the dua of the man or woman who is oppressed. These three people, Allah will always answer their dua. So when the person puts a curse on you with his dua, because you rip off his money, you marry her and did not give her the dowry, and she put a curse on you, it is Allah who curse you. So the source of the blessing and the source of the curse is from Allah and Allah alone. So when the father makes a dua for his son, it's not the father who bless, it's Allah who bless, because it is Allah who answered the dua. And when the man who was oppressed raised his hands to the skies and cried to Allah, because you borrowed his $10,000 and didn't pay him back, you rip him off, and he raised his hands and cried to Allah because he needs the money to have an operation in the hospital and you refuse to pay him back. and he raised his hands and cried to Allah, and Allah answered the dua, and you are cursed. It is Allah who cursed you by answering the dua of the man who you oppressed. So all forms of barakah, blessing, and all forms of la'na, curse, is from Allah and Allah alone. All happened is that the person made a dua, the father made a dua for the son and said, guide my son to Islam, O Allah, and Allah answered the dua of the father. The dua of the father is accepted for the son. The dua of the mother for the daughter is also accepted. And when a person raises his hands to the sky and cry to Allah because you rip off their money, and a lot of Muslims, they do that, they like to rip off people, the hypocrites with their sad stories, they come with their stories to rip off people. When the person raises his hands to Allah and cry to Allah and a curse comes down upon you, it is Allah who cursed you, but the dua of the person caused the curse of Allah to descend upon you. So when Allah Ta'ala said, when you hide knowledge from the Ummah, you will be cursed. Baqarah 159, those who hide knowledge from the Ummah of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they will be cursed by Allah, yal'anuhumullah wa yal'anuhum al-la'inun, and they will be cursed by all those who have the power to curse. They will be cursed by all those who have the power to curse. Human beings have the power to curse if their dua is accepted. A human being has the power to curse if Allah answered their dua. And this is why when the Prophet was sending Mu'adh ibn Jabal to Yemen, he said to Mu'adh ibn Jabal, fear the dua, the supplication of the man who is oppressed, because there is no barrier between him and his Lord. We are not Christians who believe that you have to pray to somebody to take the dua to Allah. We are not Christians. That's Christianity. Or the Goofy Sufi, who put intermediaries between themselves and Allah. They set up intermediaries between themselves and Allah. We are not Sufis or Christians. We don't believe in intermediary. We pray to Allah directly. So because of that, the Rasul said what? Fear the dua of the man who is oppressed, because there is absolutely no barrier between him and his Lord. I'm quoting the hadith. What is the hadith? Have you got the hadith files? وَاتَّقُوا دَعْوَةُ الْمَظْلُومِ فَلَيْسَ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. Fear the dua of the man who is oppressed, because there is no barrier between him and his Lord. I'm quoting this hadith. Where is the hadith? Have you got the hadith files? By the time I finish with this dars, hundreds of dars, we might have 1,000,000 hadith on the hadith files. Narrated, or you have found the hadith. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet sent Mu'adh to Yemen and said, fear the supplication of the oppressed, for there is no barrier between it and Allah. Okay, why the person taking notes has to bring the hadith? And never mind, we continue. Yes? Welcome. Salam. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk. It was there before. Scroll up. Oh, okay. Shukran. Bring the hadith in a different font, because when you bring it in the same font, I missed the hadith. And bring the ayah in green font, the hadith in brown font, the ayahs in green font, and the notes in black font. Because the hadith was in my face and I didn't see it. The hadith in brown font, the ayahs green font, the notes black font. Did you know that this ayah, Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk, blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion. Blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion. Did you know that it is used to refute the Shiites? You know why? Because the Shiites, they say that the sun, the moon, and the stars are subservient to our Shiite Imams. The sun, the moon, and the stars are subservient to our Imams. Can you find this? Page 52 of the Islamic State, written by Khomeini. The sun, the moon, and the stars are subservient to the Imams. Even the atoms of the universe are in the hands of the Imams. A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. Even the atoms of the universe are in the hands of our Shiite Imams. That is shirk. That is shirk. There are three types of complex: an inferiority complex, a superiority complex, and a God complex. Okay, shukran for bringing the hujjah. Certainly the Imam has a dignified station. Listen to Khomeini, the pedophile and the atheist. Listen to what he's saying. Khomeini, the atheist and the pedophile, who consummated a marriage with a 4-year-old girl in Iraq, and the father turned a blind eye to her screams because they say our Imams are gods. So if he asks me for my 4-year-old daughter, I have to hand her over to him. Khomeini, the pedophile and the atheist. Listen to what he says. Certainly the Imam has a dignified station, a lofty rank, a creational caliphate, and a sovereignty and mastery over all the atoms of the creation. Do you see that? Have you seen such kufr in your life? How can a person be a Shiite? Have you ever seen such kufr in your life, brothers and sisters? I'm sure it makes you want to vomit to read that rubbish that he's writing in his book, that crap. It makes you want to vomit just to see the kufr that he's saying. Shiites, such kuffar, worse kuffar than Jews and Christians put together. Listen to this pedophile, Khomeini, an atheist and a pedophile who consummated a marriage with a 4-year-old girl in Iraq. And the father turned a blind eye to the screams of the girl at night because he said our imams are gods, so if he proposed to my 4-year-old daughter, I have to hand her over. Certainly the imam has a dignified station, a lofty rank, a creational caliphate, and a sovereignty and mastery over all the atoms of the creation. A'udhu billah. Such kufr. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Have you seen such kufr in your life? I'm sure this is the worst kufr you have heard in your life. We are doing the tafsir of Surah Mulk, and Allah Ta'ala said in Surah Mulk, Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Blessed is he in whose hand is the sovereignty. Blessed is he in whose hand is the sovereignty, in the hands of Allah. Khomeini said, no, 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 you got it wrong. The sovereignty is not in the hands of Allah, it is in the hands of our imams. Certainly the imam has a dignified station, a lofty rank, a creational caliphate, and a sovereignty and mastery over all the atoms of creation. A'udhu billah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. This is the worst kufr you have heard in your life, brothers and sisters. It is definitely a basic belief in our school of thought, the Shiite school of thought, that our imams occupy a station unattainable by either an angel or a major prophet. So he is elevating his imams above Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He is elevating the Shiite imams above Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Have you ever seen such kufr in your life, brothers and sisters? And some stupid Sunnis said, let us unite with Shiites. Some stupid Sunnis said, let us unite with Shiites. A'udhu billah. They are worse kuffar than Jews and Christians put together, and because of that, there is a massacre taking place in Syria right now as I speak. And the Iranians have sent their troops into Syria to help to keep Bashar al-Assad in power. And he's going to fall. He can't stay in power. He's going to fall. Because Jesus is coming back to Damascus. When Jesus returns, he's going to return to Damascus. How can Jesus return to Damascus when Alawites are in power? Only the admin, only Muslim is supposed to be speaking on the main, and 80 authentic to 3. The others, you just have to listen. Okay, authentic to 12 could dot the room and leave out those who are taking notes and those who are bringing the hujjah. Because when the screen is left open, people are tempted to make comments. They can't resist. It's like putting a pretty girl in front of a man who has a weakness for women. He can't. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm back if you can hear me. We are explaining Surah Mulk. We are giving the tafsir of Surah Mulk. Allah said, Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion, and he has power over all things. Allah also told you in Surah 13 verse 2, Allah alladhi rafa as-samawat bighayri amadin tarawnaha thumma istawa ala al-arsh wa sakhara ash-shamsa wal-qamara kullun yajri li ajalin musamma. Allah is he who raised the heavens without any pillars that you can see. And then he rose over the arsh in a manner that befits his dignity and majesty. It is he who has subjugated the sun and the moon to continue going around, each running its course for a fixed time and appointed term. So Surah 13 verse 2, Allah also told you that it is he who subjugated the Shams, the sun, and the Qamar. So for the Shiites to claim that the sun, the moon, and the stars are in the hands of the Imam, and even the atoms of the universe are subservient to their Imams, I'm afraid your Aqidah doesn't stand up to scrutiny. It contradicts the Quran. To debate with a Shiite, whenever you debate with the Shiite, use the Quran. If you want to checkmate a Shia, use the Quran. Where is the ayah I quoted? Surah 13 verse 2. I don't like when it's so long, it's been delayed. Surah 13 verse 2 is the ayah. Whenever you debate with a Shiite, use the Quran to checkmate the Shiite, because their Aqidah contradicts the Quran. They are hypocrites. So if you use hadith they are going to say, I don't believe in hadith. But if you use Quran, how can they say, I don't believe in the Quran? So you should always use the Quran when you debate with the Zanadiqa. The Zanadiqa, the heretics. Zindiq is the singular and Zanadiqa is the plural. Always use the Quran to checkmate the Zindiq, the Zanadiqa. If you use hadith, they are going to say, I don't believe in hadith. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. The other issue is, Allah says He has hands, and in His hand is the dominion. Therefore, it is compulsory on you, the Muslim, to believe that Allah has two hands, but they do not resemble your hands. It is compulsory on you to believe that Allah Ta'ala has two hands, but they do not resemble your hands. There are people who do not accept that Allah has two hands. The Tablighi Jama'ah, they don't believe that. The Shiites, they don't believe that Allah has two hands. The Barelwis, they don't believe Allah has two hands. The Goofy Sufis, they don't believe Allah has two hands. And they will tell you, you are a Wahhabi. Look at you, you're a Wahhabi and you are giving Allah body parts. They'll tell you to your face, you're a Wahhabi and you are giving Allah body parts. First of all, who told you Allah has a body? We don't use the word body to describe Allah. We say Allah's that, Allah's person. If you say Allah has a body, you become the Mujassima. They are called the Mujassima. They believe Allah has a body. We don't use the word body to describe Allah. We say Allah's that. That is what we say. And the clock on the wall has two hands, but they don't resemble the hands of man. The clock on the wall in your house has two hands, but they don't resemble the hands of man. Your watch that you wear on your hand has two hands, but they don't resemble the hands of man. Likewise, Allah has two hands, but the hands of Allah do not resemble the hands of man. And Allah Ta'ala told you in the Quran that He has two hands, and the Prophet Muhammad told you that there are four things that were created by the hands of Allah. Allah Ta'ala created four things with His two hands. He created the arsh with His two hands. He created the qalam, the pen, with His two hands. He created Adam with His two hands. He created paradise with His two hands. These are the four things. Bring me the hadith, please. Okay, shukran for the hadith. These are the four things Allah Ta'ala created with His two hands. Allah created the arsh, the throne, the qalam, the pen. Allah created Adam with His two hands, and Allah created paradise with His two hands. After bringing you the hadith, I will now bring you the Quranic verse to match the hadith. Because the best speech is the book of Allah. Ahsan hadith, kitab Allah. Wa khair hadith, hadith Muhammad. And the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad. Surah 38, verse 75. This is the ayah where Allah declares that He has two hands. Surah 38, verse 75. Allah said, Ya Iblis, ma mana'aka an tasjud lima khalaqtu biyadiyya. Astakbarta am kunta min al-aleen. O Iblis, what is it that prevented you from bowing down to the one who I created with both of my hands? The ayah is clear. Your attitude towards the ayah has to be like that of the Sahabas. You read it, you believe it, and you leave it. Your attitude in regards to the ayah has to be like that of the Sahabas. You read it, you believe it, and you leave it. Don't delve into it. Read it, believe it, and leave it. Don't delve into it. Because those who delve into the ayah, they go astray. Allah's hands are of the mutashabihat, the unclear verses of the Quran. What is it? The mutashabihat, the unclear verses of the Quran. Something which is not clear, meaning you can't describe it. You can't describe Allah's hands. And Allah Ta'ala said, Huwa alladhi anzala alayka al-kitab. Surah 3, verse 7. Surah 3, verse 7. Huwa alladhi anzala alayka al-kitab. Minhu ayat muhkamat. Hunna ummul kitab. وأخر متشابهات فأما الذين في قلوبهم زيغ فيتبعون ما تشابه منه ابتغاء الفتنة وابتغاء تأويله وما يعلم تأويله إلا الله. He it is that has sent down to you the Quran, O Muhammad. In it are verses that are clear, entirely clear. They are the foundations of the book. And those verses are the verses of the ahkam, the commandments, the fara'id, the obligations, and the hudud, the legal ways, the legal laws. And the other verses are allegorical, not clear, allegorical. So as for those in whose heart is a disease, a deviation, a deviation from the truth, they go after the unclear verses, seeking to cause fitna in the ummah of Muhammad. Ibtigha al-fitna. Seeking to cause fitna in the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they go after the hidden meanings. But none knows these hidden meanings except Allah. Another allegorical verse of the Quran is Allah is above the arsh. You don't know how Allah is above the arsh. Imam Malik said to the man, how Allah is above the arsh, it is unknown. Majhul. To believe that Allah is above the arsh is wajib, compulsory, and to ask about it is a bid'ah. Now, I've met many Malikis around the world, and they have Asha'ira Aqidah. They don't believe Allah is above the arsh, and they claim they follow Imam Malik. I'm sorry, you don't follow Imam Malik. Imam Malik said, to believe that Allah is above the arsh is wajib, compulsory, and to ask about it is a bid'ah. So if you are a Maliki, how comes you don't believe Allah is above the arsh when the founder of your madhab, Imam Malik, says, he said, to believe that Allah is above the arsh is wajib? And I've met many Hanafis in my lifetime, and they don't believe Allah is above the arsh. They say Allah is everywhere. A'udhu billah. Allah is in the pigsty. Allah is even in the pigsty. Allah is everywhere. We say to them, Abu Hanifa used to make takfir on people who don't believe that Allah is above the arsh. So you say you follow Abu Hanifa. If Abu Hanifa was alive, he would make takfir on you first. You don't follow Abu Hanifa. You follow your evil and corrupted desires. That's what you follow. It's like the Christian who say, I follow Jesus. You follow Jesus? A'udhu billah. If you follow Jesus, why are you walking around with an uncircumcised penis and you eat pork? Your favorite meat is pork. You, the Christian, scrambled egg with pork is your breakfast. Your favorite meat is pork. If you follow Jesus, why are you walking around uncircumcised and you eat pork and you worship 3 gods? You're a pagan. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. You don't follow Jesus. You follow your evil and corrupted desires. You can't deceive us. We are not stupid. You don't follow Jesus. You follow your evil and corrupted desires. It's like a Saudi Salafi who say we follow Bin Baz. You follow Bin Baz? Really? You follow Bin Baz? But you say to dismantle the Sharia is a minor kufr. Bin Baz didn't have that creed. Bin Baz said when you dismantle the Sharia, you're a kafir. And Bin Baz said, we don't give a damn what's in your heart. Okay, bring me the fatwa of Bin Baz. What Bin Baz says, we don't give a damn what's in your heart. The moment you dismantle the Sharia, you're a kafir. Bring me the fatwa of Bin Baz. There is no iman for, Bin Baz said, there is no iman for the man who dismantled the Sharia, and we don't give a damn what's in your heart. Even if you believe the Sharia is better, still you're a kafir. We debated with a Saudi Salafi, and we checkmated him with this fatwa of Bin Baz, and he ran away from the room and said, I don't take from Bin Baz. He quickly ran away and said, I don't take from Bin Baz. What a hypocrite. I thought you adore Bin Baz. Okay, shukran for the fatwa of Bin Baz. This is the fatwa in front of you. What Bin Baz said, when you dismantle the Sharia, there is no iman for you, and we don't give a damn what's in your heart. Even if you believe the Sharia is better, still you're a kafir. So if you want to come and debate with us about Tawheed, we are going to use the same scholars who you adore to checkmate you and expose you as a hypocrite. In life, people will always claim to follow a personality, whether it is Jesus or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or Ibn Taymiyah, or Ibn Kathir, or Bin Baz, or Uthaymeen, or Abu Hanifa, or Imam Malik, or Imam Shafi. People always claim to follow a historic personality. But when you examine their creed and the creed of the personality that they claim to follow, you realize that they are a hypocrite and a waste of space. They don't follow that personality. They are a hypocrite and a waste of space, because the personality they claim to follow, that personality didn't have their creed, their aqidah. So they are nothing but hypocrites and a waste of space. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk. It is compulsory on you to believe that Allah Ta'ala has 2 hands, but they do not resemble your hands, because Allah said He has 2 hands in Surah 38 verse 75. And Allah said, I created Adam with my 2 hands. And Allah said, O Iblis, why didn't you bow down to the one I created with my 2 hands? The ayah is clear. Your attitude towards the ayah is, you read it, you believe it, and you leave it. Don't delve into it. Don't be a goofy Sufi who delve into it and claim 2 hands means my 2 powers. The Aqidah of 2 powers came from the fire worshippers of Iran, the Zoroastrians. They came up with the Aqidah of 2 powers. Don't delve into it. The Sahabas, I challenge you, bring me one hadith where a Sahaba went to the Prophet I said, "Oh Muhammad, what is two hands? Bring me the hadith, even a weak hadith. Since you can't find a strong hadith, okay, I make your job easier. Bring me a weak hadith where a Sahaba approached the Prophet. I said, "Oh Messenger of Allah, what is the meaning of the words two hands?" No Sahaba said that to the Prophet. Why? Because their attitude towards the ayah is they read it, they believe it, and they leave it. And Allah Ta'ala told you to abstain from people who make a mockery of Allah Ta'ala's revelation and people who delve into these issues. Surah 6 verse 68. Allah said, stay away from people who delve into these issues. Why do you think Imam Malik kicked the man out of his study circle when he said, how is Allah over the arsh? He kicked him out of his study circle. Why do you think? Because only munafiqeen ask these questions. They like to ask questions, only Allah knows the answer. Anytime a man asks you questions, only Allah knows the answer, that's a munafiq, and he's looking for a reason to apostate from Islam. That's why he asks questions, only Allah knows the answer. Why did Imam Malik kick the man out of his study circle? Don't you know why? Because hypocrisy is contagious, just like the AIDS virus. Hypocrisy is contagious, just like the AIDS virus, so he kicked the man out of his study circle. Imam Malik was not the first to kick a man out of his study circle, and he won't be the last. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَ الَّذِينَ يَخُوضُونَ فِي آيَاتِنَا فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ حَتَّى يَخُوضُوا فِي حَدِيثٍ غَيْرِهِ. And when you see those who engage in false conversation about our signs, our ayahs, the ayahs of the Quran, by mocking at them, stay away from them till they turn to another discourse, another topic. And if the shaitan causes you to forget, then after the remembrance, after you recollect, sit not you in that company of those people, because they are what the zalimun, the wrongdoers. Malik kicked the man out of the circle because hypocrisy is contagious, just like the AIDS virus. That's why he got rid of the man from the circle. And could you please undat the box to help bring in the hujjah? We continue with the tafsir. Could you please undat fatayat tawheed to help with the hujjah? We continue with the tafsir of Surah Mulk. Do you know why the Tablighi Jama'ah has a problem to believe that Allah has two hands? And the Brahmins and the Sufis and the Shiites? A Shiite will never believe Allah has two hands. Could you please undat fatayat tawheed to help with the hujjah? Do you know why the Tablighi Jama'ah, they can't believe Allah has two hands? And the Shiites and the Gofi Sufis and the Asha'ira, do you know why they can't believe Allah has two hands? Because they have kufr in their hearts and minds. Because they have kufr and shirk in their hearts and minds. If their hearts were pure like your heart, they would believe that Allah has two hands, but Allah's hands do not resemble our hands, because Allah doesn't resemble His creation. That would have been their aqidah if their hearts were pure. But because they have kufr and shirk in their hearts and minds, as well as zandaqa, when they think of Allah's two hands, they make Allah similar to man. And because of that, they deny that Allah has two hands. Their hearts are not pure, their hearts are corrupted. And how can you deny that Allah has two hands when Allah said in Surah 38 verse 75, O Iblis, why did you refuse to bow down to the one I created with both of my hands? The ayah is clear. And no Sahaba doubted the ayah. And no Sahaba approached the Prophet Muhammad and said to the Prophet Muhammad, describe to us Allah's two hands. Because the Sahabas were real believers. So they did not say to the Prophet, O Messenger of Allah, describe to us Allah's two hands. What is it? I challenge you to bring me that hadith. I challenge you to find that hadith. And to make your job easier for you, since you can't find a sahih hadith, okay, bring me a weak hadith. You can't. No Sahaba approached the Prophet to describe for him Allah's two hands. Why? Because their attitude to the ayah is, we read it, we believe it, and we leave it. As for Allah's attribute, وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ, and Allah Ta'ala has power over all things. Allah has 99 names and attributes. One of them is Al-Qadir. Al-Qadir, the one who's able to do all things. If you do not memorize Allah's 99 names, you're still a Muslim. Before the Prophet Muhammad was born, a man said to his family, when I die, burn my body and scatter the ashes. I'm so evil, I don't want to meet Allah. When he died, his family did that. Allah brought him back together and said to him, why did you tell your family to do that? He said, oh Allah, I'm so evil, I didn't want to meet you, I fear your chastisement. Allah said to the man, because you fear me and me alone, I forgive you of your sins and I give you the paradise. This man wasn't aware of Allah's name and attribute, Al-Qadir, the one who has power over all things. Yet Allah forgave him for his ignorance and gave him the paradise. Then there is another story, and this story is in Surah Baqarah 259. Baqarah 259. A man came upon a city which was broken down and derelict, dilapidated and derelict. He said, how can Allah bring this city back to life after it has been ruined, completely ruined? When he said that, Allah caused him to die and his donkey to die, and he was dead for 100 years. His food that he was traveling with was kept intact. His food didn't go off. His food did not decompose. So when he woke up after being dead for 100 years, he saw his food. So because he saw his food, he thought he was he was sleeping for a day or part of a day. Yom or Bada Yom. That's what he thought, because his food didn't go off. But his animal, the donkey, was completely decomposed. Just bones, the flesh was gone. So Allah Ta'ala said, look at your riding animal. How long did you remain dead? The man said, perhaps I remained dead a day or part of a day. He said, nay, you have been dead for 100 years. Look at your and your drink. Look at your food and your drink. They showed no sign of aging, no change. And look at your donkey. And thus we made of you a sign for people. And look at the bones. How we bring together the bones and clothe them with flesh. We put the flesh back onto the bones in front of your very eyes. When this was clearly shown to the man in front of his very eyes, what did he say? أَعْلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Now I know that Allah Ta'ala has power over all things. Allah is able to do all things. Now, why did I tell you this story? There are two stories, one from Hadith, one from Quran, that Allah Ta'ala forgives a person who doesn't memorize Allah's 99 names and attributes. These two men, they were not aware that Allah has power over all things. And the kafirs who you are living amongst, they asked the question, will we become alive again after we were buried for hundreds of years and become decomposed? Will Allah bring us back to life? For you to ask that question, it means that you are trying to limit the powers of Allah. That's not a halal question, because Allah is Al-Qadir, the one who has power over all things. And a man said to Ibn Abbas, how can people crawl on their face? Ibn Abbas was a very patient Sahaba, so he didn't get upset. But Ibn Abbas said, Allah has the power to make people crawl on their face on the day of judgment. You're not allowed to ask these questions. When you read Surah Yasin and you see where Allah said, Al-Yawma nakhtimu ala afwahihim wa tukallimuna aydihim wa tashhar arjuluhum bima kanu yaksubun. On that day we shall seal their lips and will make their hands and feet testify against them in regards to the haram things that they used to do. You're not allowed to say to a Shaykh, how can our hands and feet speak? That's not a halal question to ask. Because by you asking that question, it means you're not convinced that Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qadir, the one who has power to do all things. And when you read the hadith and it says that the Holy Quran will testify for you, don't ask the question, how can the Quran speak in our defense? For you to ask that question, it means that you have a problem with Iman. Your Iman is weak. And you are not convinced that Allah is Al-Qadir, the one who has power over all things. And when you read the hadith where it says that Ramadan will beg Allah to give you the paradise. Ramadan will say, oh Allah, I made him or her suffer hunger and thirst. I intercede on his behalf. Ramadan will intercede. Don't ask the question, how is it possible for Ramadan to intercede? That's a haram question. Because you are saying, I'm not convinced Allah is Al-Qadir, the one who has power to do all things. Haven't you heard what Allah Ta'ala said? إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا وَأَخْرَجَتِ الْأَرْضُ أَثْقَالَهَا وَقَالَ الْإِنسَانُ مَا لَهَا يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا يَوْمَئِذٍ تُحَدِّثُ أَخْبَارَهَا. On the day of judgment, the earth will testify on your behalf that you did halal on the surface of the earth, or the earth will testify to convict you that you committed zina on the surface of the earth, you committed theft, you committed murder. تحدث أخبارها, the earth will testify on the day of judgment against people, and the earth will tell Allah all the haram they did on the surface of the earth. إذا زلزلت الأرض زلزالها. On judgment day, the earth will quake with a violent earthquake, and man will say, what is the matter with the earth? Why is it behaving like that? The earth was still. And the earth will vomit out its burden. The earth will spit out its burden. What is the burden? All the graves that are buried inside the earth. Millions and billions of people who are buried inside the earth. It is athqal, a burden for the earth. And the earth will vomit them out. And Allah said the earth will testify and convict people. Or the earth will testify in their defense. All the things that people did on the surface of the earth, good or bad, the earth will talk about it. يومئذ تحدث أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها, and Allah will inspire the earth to speak on the day of judgment. Allah will say to the earth, speak, and the earth will speak. بأن ربك أوحى لها. The Lord will inspire the earth to speak. You are not allowed to read this surah and say, how is it possible for the earth to speak? That is a haram question. And by you asking that question, it proves you are not a real believer. Because if you were a real believer, you would know that Allah is Al-Qadir, the one who has power to do all things. Al-Qadir, the one who has a power to do all things. So these questions are haram questions to ask. How is it possible for this to happen, and how is it possible for that to happen? You are not allowed to limit the powers of Allah. Allah's powers are unlimited. The Christians, they went astray in regards to Allah's attribute Al-Qadir. The Christians, they went astray in regards to Allah's attribute Al-Qadir, the one who is able to do all things. Because the Christians, they say Allah beget a son. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. What do they say? Allah beget a son. And when I say to them, how can you accuse Allah of begetting a son? And beget means to have sex. The Christians, they say to me in the debate, God has the power to do all things. A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. You, the Muslim, you are the only person on the face of the earth who did not go astray in regards to Allah's 99 names and attributes. You know why? Because you describe Allah with His names and attributes, and you abstain from describing Allah with names that He did not use to describe Himself. Everybody else went astray in regards to Tawheed, Asma wa Sifat. And because you are the only person on the face of the earth who didn't go astray in regards to Tawheed, Allah said in Surah 3, 110, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best ummah that was raised up for the guidance of mankind. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best ummah that was raised up for the guidance of mankind, because you are the only ummah who did not slander Allah. You are the only ummah who didn't slander Allah. The Jews said Allah is poor and they are rich. The Christians say Allah begat a son, and Allah repented that He made man, and Allah rested on the seventh day. And Allah lost a wrestling match with Prophet Jacob. Allah lost a wrestling match with Prophet Jacob. You, the Muslims, you are the only ummah who is not guilty of slandering Allah. And because of that, Allah said, what? Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best ummah that has been raised up for the guidance of mankind. Why? Because you enjoin the right, you forbid the wrong, and you believe in Allah properly, with proper Tawheed, with authentic Tawheed. Even though Allah has power to do all things, there are things that are haram for Allah to do. I repeat, even though Allah has the power to do all things, there are things that are haram for Allah to do. It is haram for Allah to oppress people. Surah 3, 182. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِالظُّلَامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. And your Lord is not oppressive to His servants. That's one thing which is haram for Allah to do, to oppress people. Where is the evidence? Surah 3, 182. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَيْسَ بِالظُّلَامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. And your Lord is not oppressive to His servants, His abid. So even though Allah is Al-Qadir, the one with power to do all things, Allah is the all-powerful. Nothing is impossible for Allah. There are things that are haram for Allah to do. One of them is to oppress people. In a hadith Qudsi, Allah said, Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. O my servants, I have made oppression haram upon me, Allah, and I have made oppression haram amongst you, therefore do not oppress each other. Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. It is haram for Allah to break His promises. It is haram for Allah to break His promises. Where is the evidence? Surah 3, 194. إِنَّكَ لَا تُخْلِفُ الْمِيعَادِ إِنَّكَ لَا تُخْلِفُ الْمِيعَادِ. Surah 3, 194. You, Allah, you will never break any of your promises. It is haram for Allah to beget a son. Where is the evidence? Surah 6, 101. بَدِئُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَنَّا يَكُونَ لَهُ وَلَدٌ وَلَمْ تَكُنْ لَهُ صَاحِبَةٌ. Allah is the originator of the heavens and earth. How can Allah beget a son? Allah has no wife. Surah 6, 101. بَدِئُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَنَّا يَكُونَ لَهُ وَلَدٌ وَلَمْ تَكُنْ لَهُ صَاحِبَةٌ. Allah is the originator, the Badi', the originator of the heavens and the earth. How can Allah father a son? Allah has no consort, no wife. Even though Allah has power over all things, it is haram for Allah to do many, many things. So don't think haram and halal is only for you, the creation. It is haram for me to drink alcohol. It is haram for me to smoke weed. It is haram for me to eat pork. It is haram for me to sleep around with girls. It is haram for me to go to the casino. It is haram for me to be a homosexual. It is haram for me to be a lesbian. It is haram for me to tell lies. It is haram for me to backbite. It is haram for me to slander. It is haram for me to cheat with the scales. Haram, haram, haram. You think haram is only on you, the creation? That's not the case. There are many things which is haram for Allah to do, and because of that Allah said, Ya ibadi, inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. O my servants, I have made oppression haram upon me, Allah, and I have made oppression haram amongst you, therefore do not oppress each other. It is haram for Allah. It is haram for Allah to put on you a burden more than you can bear. Baqarah 286. The very last ayah of Baqarah 286. It is haram for Allah to put on you a burden more than you can bear. Okay, shukran. Yes, Baqarah 286. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. The very last ayah of Surah Baqarah. It is haram for Allah to put on you a burden more than you can bear. Because if Allah put on you a burden more than you can bear, you will apostate from Islam. It is haram for Allah to punish a people until He sends a warner to them. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذَّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We never punish the wayward until we send to them a warner. Surah 17 verse 15. Surah 17 verse 15. We never punish the wayward until we send to them a warner. And because of that, the homosexuals of Sodom and Gomorrah were punished after Prophet Lut was sent to them. The people of Noah were the first to dabble in shirk, and Allah didn't punish them until Noah warned them for 950 years. There are many, many things that are haram for Allah to do, but I can't go into all of them right now because I have a tafsir to give, the tafsir of Surah Al Mulk. So I'm afraid I need to put aside a separate sitting to discuss the things that are haram for Allah to do. There are too many. And I already digress from the tafsir. The reason why I mention this is because the Christians claim, why can't Allah beget a son? He has power to do all things. You see how the shaitan mislead people in regards to Allah's 99 names and attributes? When I debated Christians, their argument is, why can't Allah beget a son? He has the power to do all things. Even though Allah has the power to do all things, it is haram for Allah to oppress people. It is haram for Allah to break His promises. It is haram for Allah to put on us a burden more than we can bear. And it is haram for Allah to punish people if they did not break the laws of Allah Ta'ala. It is haram for Allah Ta'ala to punish the wayward until He sends a warner to warn them. There are many, many things that are haram for Allah to do. So don't think haram and halal is only for the creation. That's what you think. The rules of haram and halal is applicable to Allah Himself. Not even Allah is exempted from the rules of halal and haram. And because of that, Allah said what? Ya ibadi inni haramtu dhulma ala nafsi wa ja'altuhu baynakum muharrama fala tadhalamu. O my servants, I have made oppression haram upon me, Allah, and have made it haram amongst you, therefore do not oppress one another. Tabarak Alladhi yadihi'l-mulk wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Blessed is He in whose hand is the mulk, the dominion, and He, Allah Ta'ala, has power over all things. Alladhi khalaqa al-mawta wal hayata liyabluwakum ayyukum ahsanu amalan. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْغَفُورُ. It is He, Allah, who has created maut, death, and He has created life, hayat, to test you to see which one of you is most pious. Allah created death and Allah created life. Why? To test you to see which one of you is the most pious. The Holy Prophet ﷺ said, كُنْتُ نَهَيْتُكُمْ أَنْ زِيَارَةُ الْقُبُورِ. I used to prevent you from going to the qubur, the graves. You may not visit the graves because they remind you of your own death. That one day you'll have to meet your Maker, your Lord. كُنْتُ نَهَيْتُكُمْ أَنْ زِيَارَةُ الْقُبُورِ أَلَا فَزُورُوهَا. And the Rasul ﷺ used to say, remember, أكثر من هادم اللذات. Remember the cutter, the things that cut off your pleasures. What is the cutter that cuts off all your pleasures? Death. What is the Arabic word for death? Yaqeen. Yaqeen. Yaqeen is death. So how is death? Allah said, I created death and life to test you to see which one of you is the most righteous. Ayyukum ahsanu amala. Have you ever heard a Muslim say, I fear the punishment of the grave, so I'm not going to cheat my brother. I fear the punishment of the grave, so I'm not going to oppress my brother. Haven't you heard Muslims say that? There is punishment in the grave. There are snakes in the grave. When we did this tafsir in university, my sheikhs who gave me the tafsir said there are snakes in the grave. And guess what? It's your natural instinct to fear snakes. When you watch the Animal Planet and they have snakes, very, very poisonous snakes, you cringe when you watch the Animal Planet and you see snakes. When Allah told Musa to throw down his rod became a snake. What did Musa do? He ran away. He ran away. The same rod he used for many, many years, when it became a snake, Musa ran away, and Allah said what? He didn't even look back. He was so horrified and terrified and petrified. Allah said what? He didn't even look back as he was running away from what? A snake. And your grave has snakes inside of it. And because you fear the punishment of the grave, which is the yaqeen, the death is the yaqeen. Death is yaqeen. You can't escape death. And because you know that one day you'll be in the grave, you alone, nobody with you, in that dark chamber, you try to be as pious as possible. Ali ibn Abi Talib said what? We, the companions of Muhammad, we used to doubt the punishment of the grave. But when Allah revealed the surah, Alhaakumut takathur hatta zurtumul maqabir, rivalry between yourselves, chasing after the dunya, it takes you away from your deen until you visit the grave. Then you'll come to know that you allow the dunya to take you away from your deen. Alhaakumut takathur hatta zurtumul maqabir, surah 102. Ali said when Allah revealed that surah, not a single Sahaba doubted the punishment of the grave. Alhaakum al-takathur hatta zurtum al-maqabir. You need to tell this hadith to Hizb Tahrir. You need to tell this hadith to Hizb Tahrir, because they doubt the punishment of the grave. Ali narrated, we did not cease to doubt the punishment in the grave till the surah was revealed. Alhaakum al-takathur hatta zurtum al-maqabir. Rivalry in the accumulation of the wealth diverts your mind. Okay, shukran for bringing the hadith. That was quick. Not everybody behaved properly in regards to death. Some people can't behave themselves in regards to death. And not everybody was able to cope with the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet died, Omar said, if anybody said Muhammad is dead, I'm going to chop off his head. And Abu Bakr as-Siddiq had to quell the fitna. He said, people, those who worship Muhammad, Muhammad is dead, and those who worship Allah, Allah is alive and cannot die. Those who worship Muhammad, Muhammad is dead, and those who worship Allah, Allah is alive and cannot die. Not everyone is able to cope with death. Some people, when their loved one die, they commit suicide. They can't carry on. Death is a yaqeen, what is certain, and it's a very, very painful experience. Do you know when the death is painful? If a 90-year-old die, nobody will cry. The person is 90 or 100. Do you know when the death is painful? When the person is young. If a 19-year-old dies, then people cry. Not a 90-year-old. The death is painful when the person is young. The death is painful when the person was pious and kind. If a rapist died, nobody will cry. If a murderer died, nobody will cry. If a righteous man died, people cry. The death is painful. If the person who died was a scholar. When Anwar Olaki died, everybody was crying. If the person was a scholar and the person died, then the death is painful. If the person was an asset to humanity, the death is painful. If the person was a liability to humanity, the death is not painful. Everyone will say happy riddance. Happy riddance. So when the Rasul died, it was painful. When Bilal came back from Syria to Medina and called the adhan, Bilal, when the Prophet died, he went to live in Syria. Then he came back to Medina for a visit and he called the adhan in the masjid of the Prophet. The people who lived beside the masjid, they heard the voice of Bilal and they cried like a baby. Why? Because he reminded them about the days of the Prophet ﷺ. Bilal went to live in Syria when the Prophet died. Bilal came back to Medina to visit and he called the adhan at the masjid of the Prophet. The people who lived close to the masjid, when they heard the voice of Bilal, all of them, men and women, they cried like a baby. Because the voice of Bilal reminded them of the good old days when the Prophet was alive with them. Death is very, very painful when the person who died was a righteous person. Allah Ta'ala said, لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ, I created maut, death, and I created life, to test you to see which one of you is best in conduct. The Rasul said, خُذْ مِنْ صِحَتِكْ لِمَرَدِكْ وَمِنْ حَيَاتِكْ لِمَوْتِكْ. Use your good health to prepare for your sickness, and use your life to prepare for your death. When you know that you are going to die, you prepare for your death. And how do you prepare for your death? With righteous deeds. You prepare for your death with the right aqidah. Because you are going to be in the grave. The grave is an examination chamber. Who are the examiners? Munkar and Nakir. How many questions? 3 questions. These 3 questions are so important. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab wrote a book about it and called it Usul al-Thalatha, the 3 principles. And that is a book we need to explain in this room as well. Usul al-Thalatha, the 3 principles. We have to explain that book. What are the 3 questions? Who is your Lord? Who is your Prophet? And what is your religion? A righteous person will prepare for this exam by becoming a Muslim, so that he'll be able to answer the 3 questions of Munkar and Nakir. Who is your Lord? Who is your Prophet? And what's your religion? And these angels are severe in interrogation. Whenever the Prophet buried one of his companions, he would say, beg Allah to give your brother tathbeet, firmness in his grave. Because now the angels are questioning him in the grave and they are severe in their interrogation. The Rasul said, use your life in the dunya to prepare for your death. وَمِنْ خُذْ مِنْ صِحَتِكْ لِمَرَدِكْ وَمِنْ حَيَاتِكْ لِمَوْتِكْ. You prepare for your death with the right aqidah and righteous actions. So that when you are in the grave and the angels interrogate you, you'll be able to answer these 3 questions. If you did not prepare for this exam, in the grave you shall fail and they will hit you in your head with a hammer. If they should hit the tallest mountain with that hammer, the mountain would disintegrate to powder and dust. You need to prepare for this exam in the grave. If not, you will fail, because the law of nature says, he who fails to prepare has got to be prepared to fail. That is one of the 13 laws of nature. He who fails to prepare has got to be prepared to fail. Allah said, I created death and I created life to test you to see which one of you is the most righteous. So you are prepared for your death with righteous deeds because you fear the punishment of the grave. And as for the life of this world, it has fitna. Money is fitna. Woman is fitna. Alcohol is fitna. A nightclub is fitna. The casino is fitna. To prove to you that the world is fitna, when Allah created paradise, He told the angel Gabriel to go and look at paradise. The angel Gabriel said, anyone who heard about paradise will enter the paradise. Such wonderful homes, such delicious food and drink, such luxurious clothing, such pretty girls in paradise. Anyone who heard about this paradise, they shall enter the paradise. Who said that? The angel Gabriel. Then Allah put in front of paradise hurdles. You know when you watch the Olympics and you have to jump over hurdles to win the race? If you want a gold medal, you have to jump over hurdles to reach the finishing line. Allah put in front of paradise many, many hurdles. The hurdle of money, the hurdle of pretty girls, the hurdle of alcohol, the hurdle of drugs, the hurdle of nightclubs, the hurdle of casino. When the angel Gabriel saw the many, many hurdles that we need to jump over to reach the paradise, the angel said, I fear that nobody will enter the paradise. Maybe you can find the hadith I've just quoted. I learned it from the lips of my Shaykh. What the angel said, I fear that nobody will enter paradise because there are too many hurdles they need to jump over to reach paradise. Too many hurdles. So the world is fitna. But the biggest fitna, the Prophet said, is the fitna of women. So Allah Ta'ala said, I created life and I created death, maut, wal hayat, life, to test you to see which one of you is best in conduct, to see which one of you is the most righteous. You chase after the dunya. One day the Prophet was with his companions and they passed by a dead sheep. The Prophet said, which one of you would like this sheep? They said, we don't want it. Nobody would like that sheep. The sheep was dead. The Prophet said, what if you get it for free? They said, not even for free. Not even balash. We don't want it, not even for balash. Balash means free. Not even balash, we don't want it. Look at its ears. They said to the Prophet, look at its ears. It's deformed. So even if the sheep was alive, we don't want it. Not even for balash. The ears is deformed. The Prophet said, this dunya that people are chasing after is just like this dead sheep. Maybe you can find a hadith about the dead sheep. Maybe you can find a hadith about paradise, that Allah beautified the paradise and told the angel Gabriel to go and look at the paradise. Am I quoting too many hadith? I didn't find a hadith about paradise. Okay, found in al-Tirmidhi and Abu Dawud as well as Nasai. Okay, I won't bother to read the hadith, I've already quoted it. Okay, find the hadith about the dead sheep. The Rasul said the dunya that people are chasing after is just like this dead sheep. The sheep that nobody wants. Even if the sheep was alive, nobody wants the sheep because the sheep is deformed. Look at its ears. Who wants that? Allah said, I created death and I created life to test you to see which one of you is the most righteous, the best in conduct. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Who is going to hang on to their deen and who is going to go astray because he is chasing the dunya. The Rasul said one of the signs of the last days is for you to hang on to your deen is like hanging on to hot fire coal. Hanging on to your deen is like hanging on to hot fire coal. That's one of the signs of the last days. Because the Kafirs are going to keep bringing out new laws to make it impossible for you to be a Muslim. In that case, you have to make hijrah. The Kafirs in Europe and America, they are going to bring out new laws every day to make it impossible for you to hang on to your deen. Okay, you have found a hadith about the sheep found in Muslim. I don't need to quote the hadith. I've already quoted the hadith. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. The Rasul said if this dunya was valuable to the extent of a mosquito wing, he would never give a kafir a cup of water to drink from it. Find that hadith as well. This dunya, if it was valuable to the extent of a mosquito wing, he would never give a kafir a cup of water to drink from this dunya. The Rasul said this dunya is cursed and everything in the dunya is cursed except three things. Dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah, a scholar of Islam, and a student of that scholar. Everything else in this dunya is cursed. Everything in the dunya is cursed except three things. Dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah, a scholar of Islam, and a student of that scholar. You are chasing the dunya, and everything in the dunya is cursed except three things. The dunya is a prison for the believers, but a paradise for the kuffar. The dunya is what? A prison for the believers, but a paradise for the kuffar. We created death and we created life to test you to see which one of you is best in conduct. To see which one of you will be steadfast on his deen, and to see which one of you will get carried away with the temptations of the dunya. When you bring the hadith, you have to put a line between them because they are posted together. You have to put a line between the hadith. Abu Hurayrah reported that the Messenger of Allah said, the world is the prison of the believer, but a paradise for the kuffar. Okay, shukran. But in the future, you put a space between them so that I do not become confused as to which is which. We are now explaining ayah 3. الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فرج البصر هل ترى من فتور. Who has created? Allah has created the 7 heavens, one above the other. You can see no fault in the creation of the most gracious. Then look again a second time. Can you see any rift in my creation? Surah Mulk verse 3. الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا. Allah created 7 heavens, one above the other. There is 7 heavens, 7 earth, and 7 hell. I repeat, there are 7 heavens, 7 earth, and 7 hell. Allah created the 7 heavens in tibaqa, one above the other. Allah said, look at my wonderful and marvelous creation. I would like to explain the 3rd ayah, then I stop. Somebody else will have to take notes. Where is authentic? Where is Muslimah 245? Not in the room. Are you tired? Authentic Tawhid 3. You'll continue. We have to checkmate the atheists yet. We haven't checkmated the atheists. We are going to checkmate the atheists, inshallah, with his dodgy aqidah. The atheists with his dodgy aqidah. We're going to checkmate the atheists. We're going to refute and disgrace the atheists. Allah Ta'ala said He has created 7 heavens, one above the other. Allah said, look at my wonderful and marvelous creation. Do you see any fault in my creation? My creation is free from discrepancies, free from inconsistencies, free from incongruities. Absolutely no discrepancies, inconsistencies, or incongruities in my creation. No rift. ثم رج البصر قرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. And look at my creation a 3rd time. Look at my creation a 4th time. Your eyesight will return to you with complete humiliation. Your eyesight will be worn out, and still you couldn't find a single fault in my wonderful and marvelous creation. Look at yourself in the mirror, your own anatomy. You don't need to use a telescope to look far. A telescope to look far. Look at yourself in the mirror and look at your own anatomy, your own body. Is there a place which is more appropriate for your eyes to be? Is there a place which is more appropriate for your ears to be? Is there a place which is more appropriate for your nose to be? Allah put your nose above your mouth so that when you are eating food, if the food is decomposed, you will avoid eating the food because it will cause you food poisoning. And people die every year from food poisoning. Even when you look at your own anatomy in the mirror, you are convinced that your creation, everything is in its perfect place. And because of that, Allah Ta'ala said, وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. I swear by the fig and I swear by the olive. I swear by Mount Sinai and I swear by Holy Mecca. Verily, we created man to be the most noble, the most handsome of our creation. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Verily, we have created man to be the most noble, the most handsome of our creation. Therefore, man from all the creation, the sun, the moon, the stars, the rivers, the oceans, the seas, the horse, the donkey, the lion, the tiger, the zebra, from all the creation of Allah that you can think of, man is my masterpiece. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Man is the most noble, the most handsome of my creation. Man is my masterpiece. Have you heard about the painting Mona Lisa? Do you think a painting can fetch a higher price than Mona Lisa if it is painted by Picasso or Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci? You can't fetch a higher price than that because man is my masterpiece. Allah said, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Verily, I have created man to be the most noble, the most handsome of my creation. So Allah said, look at my creation. Do you see any incongruities, inconsistencies? Do you see any fault? Do you see any rift? So if the world came about by accident, look at the sun, the moon, the stars, the rivers, the seas. If the world came about by accident, how comes there is no rift in my creation? This is a question for the atheist. Your Aqidah is Tawheed. The Aqidah of the Christians is Trinity. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. The Aqidah of the atheist is the Big Bang. The world came about by a Big Bang, an accident. If the world came about by accident, how comes we have no rift in the creation of Allah? No inconsistencies, no incongruities, no contradictions, and no far-fetchedness. Absolutely no faults and no flaws. What do you mean the world came about by a freak of nature? That doesn't make sense. Anything that came about by accident continues to exist by accident. Now the time has arrived for us to checkmate the atheist, to debate with him and to disgrace him. The first argument we are going to use against the atheist is the sun. The first argument we are going to use against the atheist is the sun. We are going to debate with him and disgrace him. The sun is situated above our heads. Please take notes, Authentic 23. I'm sorry I've exhausted you, but this is very important. And make it bullet points. Bullet points. The sun is point number 1. The sun is above our heads. And Allah swears by the sun in the Quran. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. Allah swears by the sun in the Quran. If the sun is too close to us, we would all die. We would be baked like chicken and die. If the sun is too close to us, we will be all roasted, baked and die from the intense heat of the sun. If the sun is too far away from us, we will all freeze to death. If the sun was too close, we would all roast, bake and die. Okay, shukran. And if the sun was too far away from us, we would all freeze to death. But we can see that the sun is accurately, meticulously, scrupulously situated above our head to sustain life on earth. It's not too close to us for us to bake like chicken and die from the heat. Neither is it far away from us for us to freeze to death. But the sun was meticulously, scrupulously, and accurately situated above our heads to sustain life on earth. If the world had come about by accident, the sun would not be situated above our head with such accuracy and precision. That is the first argument against the atheist. The atheist believes the world came about by accident, the Big Bang, and it's a freak of nature. Nobody created the world. There is no such thing called a God. God is a delusion. God is a myth and a delusion. God doesn't exist. Nobody created the world. It came about by accident. It's all a Big Bang that happened. The second argument is the alternation of night and day. The second argument, Authentic 23, the alternation of night and day. And Mike can hear me? The alternation of night and day. Allah Ta'ala said in Surah 3, 190 to 191. Surah 3, 190 to 191. إن في خلق السماوات والأرض واختلاف الليل والنهار لآيات لأولي الألباب الذين يذكرون الله قياما وقعودا وعلى جنوبهم ويتفكرون في خلق السماوات والأرض ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار. Verily, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of night and day, there are indeed signs for men of understanding. Those who remember Allah always in their salah, standing, sitting, and lying down on their sides, and think deeply about the creation of the heavens and the earth. They say, our Lord, you have not created all of this without any purpose, for batil. Glory to you, exalted are you above all that they associate as partners unto you. Give us salvation from the torment of the hellfire. The second argument that we use against the atheists is the alternation of night and day. If there was no God governing the universe, everything is total accident, how comes there is alternation of night and day with accuracy and precision? If there was no God governing the universe, sometimes we'll have 10 years of night, 10 years of day. Everything will be total chaos. But the world is governed with such uniformity and unity, accuracy and precision. How can you say no one is governing the universe? The universe is governing itself. So Allah said in Surah 3, 190 to 191, the alternation of night and day, that in itself is a sign for mankind. If there was no one governing the universe, we'll have 10 years of night, 15 years of day, because everything will be total chaos. But the world runs according to order and perfection, unity and uniformity. Why? Because Allah is governing the universe. There is no such thing called a world with no one governing the universe. Your argument doesn't make sense. The third argument against the atheist, the 4 seasons of the year. The 4 seasons of the year. Every year we have spring, summer, autumn, winter, and you can see the leaves falling from the trees in the autumn. If we didn't have a maker governing the universe, how comes the 4 seasons of the year? People look forward to summer every year. People in Europe, they look forward to summer every year to enjoy themselves and have fun. And some people look forward to winter every year to go skiing on the ice, skiing. And they even have winter Olympics. If there was no one governing the universe, how comes the 4 seasons of the year are alternated meticulously and scrupulously every year. If there was no one governing the universe, we'll have sometimes 50 years of summer, 50 years of winter, non-stop winter for 50 years, because everything would be total chaos. But the 4 seasons of the year are being alternated meticulously, scrupulously, and carefully every year. So what do you mean the world has no one governing the universe? The world is out of control with no one governing the universe? That is the other argument we use against the atheist. The 4th argument is the white blood cells. In our bodies, we have soldiers in the body to fight invading forces. These white blood cells are soldiers in the body, and their job is to fight the bacteria and the virus that comes in the body. Without the white blood cells, you will die, because your body will be left with no soldiers to protect the body. If we came about by accident, a freak of nature, how comes in every human being they have white blood cells and they are the soldiers of the body to protect the body from virus and bacteria? This is why the AIDS virus is so dangerous, because the AIDS virus, it attacks the white blood cells. So your body has no soldiers to protect the body, so you'll die from anything. Your body is now vulnerable because the soldiers of the body are being killed by the AIDS virus. The AIDS virus is one of the worst things to affect human beings because it goes after the white blood cells. The other argument against the atheist is the DNA. How do you explain that we all have a different DNA? When Clinton had his affair in the White House, he denied the affair. Do you know what they used to nail Clinton? He had to come forward and admit the DNA was on the dress of the woman. He could not escape, even though Clinton is very slippery. When he smoked weed, he said, "I smoke, but I did not inhale." You can't catch Clinton so easily. He's too clever, very, very slippery. He said, "I smoke weed, but I didn't inhale." So they believe him and vote for him to become president. Why they vote for him? Because he didn't inhale. He didn't inhale. They believe he didn't inhale, so they vote for him to become president. Why? Because he didn't inhale the weed. He had an affair in the White House and he denied the affair. And he almost got away. What did they use to nail Clinton? The DNA. The DNA was on the dress of the woman. He had to come clean. So how do you explain we are over 6 billion people in the world and we all have a different DNA? You are no longer living in the 1950s, in which a dirty old man can pin down a 10-year-old girl and rape her and get away with his crime. You can't do that. The DNA is going to nail you in court. We all have a different DNA. If we came about by an accident, a freak of nature, how do you explain that even though we are over 6 billion people in the world, we all have a different DNA? Please answer my question, Mr. Atheist. The other argument against the atheist is the fingerprint. We all have a different fingerprint. So even though we are over 6 billion people in the world, we all have a different fingerprint. How do you answer that question, Mr. Atheist? Concerning your argument, the other argument against the atheist, the iris in the eye. The iris in the eye. Even though we are over 6 billion people in the world, we all have a different iris in the eye. So you can't borrow people's passport anymore and travel to the USA. People used to borrow people's passport and travel to the USA. You can't do that anymore because they can scan your eye to see if you are traveling on a fake passport. If you are the owner of the passport or you borrow the passport of your twin brother. Many people who are identical twins, they have been to Europe and America with a fake passport. They borrow the passport of their twin brother or their twin sister. We all have a different iris in the eye, even though we are 6 billion people in the world. So if we came about by a freak of nature, we came about by the Big Bang and accident, how do you explain we have a different iris in the eye? And how do you explain we have a different DNA? And how do you explain we have a different fingerprint? Can't you see we were intelligently designed? So we believe in intelligent design, not a freak of nature. We came about by a freak of nature. And if monkeys are our fathers, listen to the checkmate. If monkeys are our fathers, how comes we can't give DNA to monkeys? We can't give blood to monkeys and monkeys can't give blood to us. Monkeys are our fathers, yet the DNA is totally different. We can't give blood to each other. That doesn't make sense to me. When a person is involved in a car accident and they need blood, the father would rush to the hospital to give blood to his son and vice versa. So if monkeys are our fathers, how comes we can't give blood to monkeys and monkeys can't give blood to us? Because the DNA is totally different. So I'm sorry, Darwinism is not science, Darwinism is gibberish. Darwinism is not science, it's rubbish and gibberish. We are 50% DNA with bananas. I didn't even know that. You claim that seeing is believing. Listen to how stupid you are. Seeing is believing. Did you see your great-great-great-grandmother? You preach seeing is believing. I'm not going to believe anything which I can't see. Did you see your great-great-great-grandmother? You see how easy it is to checkmate an atheist? You claim seeing is believing. Did you put a group of scientists around the clock to watch the monkey turning into man? Did you see that? You score an own goal when you say seeing is believing. Did you put a group of scientists to work around the clock to watch the monkey and see the monkey becoming a man? Did you see that? It's called a metamorphosis. Did you see that? You didn't see any metamorphosis taking place. So what do you mean seeing is believing? I'm sorry, you score an own goal. It's very, very embarrassing to score an own goal. The Colombian football team went to America to play football, and one of the players scored an own goal against his national team. When he went back to Colombia, they shot him in his head in the city, Bogota, the capital. Oh, look at the man. He scored an own goal against our team, our national team, and they shot him in his head. They didn't forgive him for that. It's very, very embarrassing to score an own goal. You, the atheist, you score an own goal because you say seeing is believing. And you didn't put a group of scientists to watch the monkey turning into a man. It's called a metamorphosis. I'm afraid you have scored an own goal. This is how you checkmate the atheist. So Allah Ta'ala said, my creation is a wonderful and marvelous creation, and there is absolutely no inconsistencies, discrepancies, or incongruities in my creation. Look at my creation a first time, a second time, a third time, and even a fourth time. Your eyesight will return to you completely worn out with complete humiliation, and still you can't find a single fault in my wonderful and marvelous creation. This is the tafsir of Surah Mulk. I'm going to stop here for today. I'm not taking any questions. I'm going to stop here for today. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. I'd like to thank Authentic 23. I've really exhausted you a lot today. May Allah reward you. I've really exhausted you. I will continue the tafsir of Surah Mulk tomorrow, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala Imam al-Anbiya wal Mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, beloved brothers and sisters in Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to this another of our sittings. We shall be continuing with the tafsir of Surah Mulk. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith that Surah Mulk will plead for a person until Allah Ta'ala forgives the person and gives the person the paradise. So this is one of the merits of Surah Mulk, that it will intercede for the person on the day of judgment. And the Prophet sallallahu Abu Hurayrah read a surah has 30 verses, intercedes for a man until he is forgiven. So intercede until you are forgiven. And it has 30 ayahs. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that Surah Mulk saves you of the grave. Yusuf, could you bring some water? And in another hadith, the Prophet said, I wish that all of my ummah will memorize Surah Mulk. This hadith is found in At-Tabarani. I wish that every one of my ummah would memorize Surah Mulk. Anas ibn Malik narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, there is a chapter of the Quran that will argue on behalf of its reciter until it causes him to enter paradise. It is blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion. Then in another hadith, talking about the grave, it says, whoever reads Tabarak Alladhi bi yadihi'l-mulk, overnight Allah protect him from the torment of the grave. At the time of the Messenger of Allah, we used to call it al-Mani'ah, that which protects and prevents. In the book of Allah, it is surah, there is a surah which recites it every night has done very well. In the book of Allah, it is a surah which whoever recites it every night has done very well. Then in another hadith by At-Tabarani, it says Ibn Abbas narrated that the messenger of Allah said, I wish that this surah, Surah Mulk, will be in the heart of everyone from my ummah. These are some of the hadiths that I uncover in regards to the merits of Surah Mulk. The last time we were here, we stopped at Ayah 5. We explained 4 ayahs. We even refuted the atheists. The last time we were here, we stopped at Ayah 5. In this ayah, Allah said, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا مَا الدُّنْيَا وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ. And indeed, we have adorned the nearest heaven with lamps. And we have made such lamps as missiles to drive away the shayateen, and have prepared for them the torment of a blazing fire. In Sahih Bukhari, Qatada said, Allah Ta'ala created the stars for 3 reasons. In Sahih Bukhari, Qatada said, Allah Ta'ala has created the stars for 3 reasons. Qatada said, and indeed we have adorned the nearest heaven with lamps. Allah created these stars for 3 reasons. The first reason, a decoration for the sky. As the second reason, as missiles to hit the devils when they go up to listen to the secret conversations between Allah and His righteous angels. And the third reason is, it's a sign to guide the travelers for the purpose of navigation. So if anybody tries to find a different interpretation, he is mistaken and just waste his efforts in seeking something of which he has no knowledge. Sahih Bukhari. Now, there are kuffar out there, should you wish for something, it will come to pass. This is superstition and it is jahala. These are shooting stars, these are missiles that Allah Ta'ala is using to burn up the shayateen as they go up to listen to the secret conversation between Allah Ta'ala and His righteous servants, the angels. But to wish because you see a shooting star, you see a shooting star, it means you are jahil. This is the superstition of the kuffar. Likewise, the Prophet said there are 4 things from Jahiliyyah my ummah will never relinquish. My ummah will never relinquish 4 things from Jahiliyyah. The first thing is to brag and boast about their lineage and to look down on the lineage of others. Abu Malik al-Ashari narrated, the Prophet said, there are 4 things of Jahiliyyah that exist among my ummah and they will never relinquish these things. Boasting about one's forefathers, casting aspersions upon the people's lineage, seeking rain from the stars and wailing over the dead. These are 4 matters of Jahiliyyah my ummah will never give up. So racism and tribalism, which is called Asabiyya, is one of the things that the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will never give up. At the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the rain came. And when the rain came at the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Allah Ta'ala said in a Hadith Qudsi, some of you believe in me and some of you disbelieve in me. As for those who believe that the rain came by the will of Allah, by Qadr Allah, they believe in Allah and they reject faith in the stars. As for those who believe the rain came because of the positions of the star in the sky, they believe in the stars but they don't believe in Allah. On the authority of Zayd ibn Khalid al-Juhani, who said, the Messenger of Allah led the morning prayer for us at Al-Hudaybiyah, following rainfall during the night. When the Prophet ﷺ finished, he faced the people and said to them, do you know what your Lord has said? They said, Allah and His Messenger knows best. Allah and His Messenger know best. He said, this morning one of my servants became a believer in me and one a disbeliever in me. As for him who said, we have been given rain by virtue of Allah and His mercy, that one is a believer in me, a disbeliever in the stars. And as for him who said, we have been given rain by such and such a star, that one is a disbeliever in me and a believer in the stars. The pre-Islamic Arabs believed that rain was brought about by the movement of stars. This hadith draws attention to the fact that whatever be the direct cause of such natural phenomena as rain, it is Allah the Almighty who is the disposer of all these things, of all these affairs. Likewise, when the son of the Prophet died and the moon eclipsed, the Arabs said the moon eclipsed because of the death of Ibrahim, and the Prophet said the sun, the moon and the stars, these are the phenomena of Allah. They do not eclipse because of the birth or the death of anyone. That is superstition from the days of Jahiliyyah. We believe in Qadr, destiny and predestination, and we do not believe in superstitions and omens. Now, Allah said that the star, they are lamps. Allah said masabih. The reason why Allah said that the sun and the stars, they are lamps, is because they produce their own light and their own heat. But as for the moon, Allah did not use the word misbah to describe the moon. Allah said the moon is a reflector, a munir. That is the word Allah used to describe the moon, a munir, a reflector. It reflects light from the sun. But as for the sun and the stars, because they produce their own light and heat, Allah said they are siraj, which means a lamp. So this is a scientific fact which is in the Quran. The beauty about the Quran is that it doesn't contradict science, while every other religious book contradicts science. The Quran doesn't contradict science, because science is Allah's creation and the Quran is Allah's revelation. And there is no conflict between Allah's creation and Allah's revelation. These shayateen that are being burnt up by the stars, they go up to the heavens to listen to the conversation between Allah and the angels. Then they return to the dunya to give it to their henchmen, the information. The soothsayers, the fortune tellers, the palm readers. So they take the information and they mix one truth with 100 lies. That's how evil these men are. You are not allowed to approach a soothsayer as a Muslim or fortune teller, because of the hadith, man ata kahinan fasaddaqa. Anybody who goes to the soothsayer, the fortune teller, the diviner, has rejected faith in what came down to Muhammad. Whoever comes to a fortune teller and believes him has disbelieved in what was revealed to Muhammad. So it is not Islamic. It is haram for you to go to these soothsayers, these fortune tellers, these palm readers. It is also haram for you to believe in the star scopes, the horoscopes. You are not allowed to read horoscopes in the newspapers or to listen to horoscopes on the television or the radio. This is not in conformity with the Islamic creed, that we believe in Qadr, everything is predestined. And you are not allowed to believe in omens and superstitions and horoscopes. However, you are allowed to listen to the weather forecast because they depend upon satellites. And in Muslim countries, they allow weather forecast. But the weatherman always say, Insha'Allah, because the clouds can change course. They use the satellite to look at the clouds to tell you where there might be rain. You are allowed to listen to the weather forecast, but not horoscopes, star scopes, and the palm readers. You are not allowed to believe in superstition and omens, because omen is shirk. And for those who disbelieve in their Lord is a torment of hell, and worse indeed is that destination. As for those who disbelieve in their Lord is the torment of hell, and worse indeed is that destination. Ayah 6. When you reject faith in Muhammad, you reject faith in Allah. When you reject faith in Jesus, you reject faith in Allah. When you reject faith in Moses, you reject faith in Allah. Belief in Allah doesn't mean to believe in Allah alone. You have to believe in 6 things. And these 6 things are called the 6 pillars of faith, the 6 pillars of Iman. You need to believe in Allah, His angels, His books, to believe in His prophets and messengers, to believe in Judgment Day, and to believe in destiny, Qadr. If you reject faith in one of these 6 pillars of Iman, you are guilty of rejecting Allah. So even though the Christians believe in Allah, they are going to go to the hellfire because they don't believe in Muhammad. And even though the Jews believe in Allah, they are going to go to the hellfire because Jews don't believe in Jesus. So to believe in Allah is not enough to make you a believer. You need to believe in the 6 pillars of Iman. To believe in Allah is not enough to make you a Muslim. When you believe in Allah, you are only practicing half of the Shahada. It is easy to believe in Allah. What is difficult is to reject the Taghut. To believe in Allah is not enough to make you a Muslim. When you believe in Allah, you are only practicing half of your Shahada. What about the other half? The other half is to reject the Taghut. And because of that, Allah said, La ikrah fi din, qad tabayyana rushd min al-ghayy. Baqarah 256. Let there be no compulsion in religion because truth stands out clear from falsehood. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدِ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا. Let there be no compulsion in religion because truth stands out clear from falsehood. Whoever disbelieves in the Taghut, the false deities, Taghut is false and Taghut means the kafir. The only organization you are allowed to join is an Islamic organization. Taghut, like the Freemasons, that's Taghut. It's a satanic organization. Taghut means the kafir armies. Taghut is the kafir courthouse. Taghut is an icon for a false religion like Mother Teresa. She was an icon for a false religion. Taghut is anything which is worshipped beside Allah, like the Buddha is Taghut. Taghut is also a wicked scholar. So a wicked scholar who passed dodgy fatwas to put the lives and properties of Muslims in jeopardy, that is a Taghut. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدِ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى لَا انْفِصَامَ لَهَا. So whosoever rejects faith in the Taghut and then believe in Allah, he has grasped a grip that will never break, the most trustworthy of handhold. And Allah Ta'ala is the all-hearer, the all-knower. To believe in Allah is not enough to make you a Muslim. You can't be a Muslim until you reject the Taghut. Please send out invites to everyone on your pals list so that it does start. So those who disbelieve in Allah, for them is the hellfire. The hellfire for those who believe in Allah is everlasting. The hellfire for those who disbelieve in Allah is everlasting. The hellfire for those who believe in Allah and Muhammad is not everlasting, it's temporary. Every Muslim will come out of hell with the intercession of Muhammad. No Muslim will be in hell forever. Every Muslim will come out of hell with Shafa'ah, the intercession of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hellfire for a kafir is forever, and the hellfire for a munafiq is forever. The hellfire for the munafiq is forever. And the munafiq, Allah said in Surah Nisa 145, will be in the bottom of the hellfire. Innal munafiqeen fi dark al-asfali min an-nar. Verily, the hypocrites shall be in the bottom of the hellfire, and you'll never find any help for them. Every Muslim will come out of hell with Shafa'ah. Every Muslim will come out of hell with Shafa'ah. What is Shafa'ah? The intercession of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا سَمِعُوا لَهَا شَهِيقًا وَهِيَ تَفُورُ Ayah 7. When they are cast therein, they will hear the terrible drawing in of its breath as it blazes forth. You will hear the drawing of its breath as it blazes forth. تَكَادُ تَمَيَّزُ مِنَ الْغَيْظِ. It almost bursts up with fury. So the hellfire has its own fury. And the hellfire is able to speak. Because the hellfire complains to Allah about its heat. And the hellfire said, a part of me has ate up another part of me. So Allah allows the hellfire to take 2 breaths. 1 breath of cold wind and 1 breath of hot air. The coldness that you experience in the winter, that is the hellfire breathing its breath of coldness. For those of you who live in Europe and America, especially in cities like Chicago, when I speak to you in private PM, you complain about the cold. The people live in Europe, when I speak to them in private PM, they complain about the cold to me. That is hellfire breathing its breath of cold air. And the heat that you suffer in the summer, that is the hellfire breathing its hot air. So the hellfire speaks. The hellfire complains to Allah about its heat. The hellfire has its own fury. Not only does it have its own fury, but it can speak. And the hellfire, a debate took place between the hellfire and paradise. The hellfire said, in me are the mighty, the strong, the rich, the famous, the wicked. And paradise said, in me are the humble and the meek and the poor. So even between hellfire and paradise, a debate took place. And Allah said, it is incumbent upon me to fill all of you. On the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, who said that the Messenger of Allah said, paradise and hellfire disputed together. And the hellfire said, in me are the mighty and the haughty. Haughty means proud. Paradise said, in me are the weak and the poor. The weak and the meek and the poor. So Allah judged between them, saying, you are paradise by mercy, through you I show mercy to those I wish. And you, the hellfire, you are by punishment, through you I punish those I wish. And it is incumbent upon me that each of you shall have its fill. Reported by Bukhari and Muslim. So the hellfire can speak, and the hellfire has its fury. Every time a group is cast therein, its keepers will ask them, did no warner come to you? Alam ya'tikum nadhir? Didn't any warner come to you? The keepers of the hellfire, they are called the Zabaniya. The Zabaniya are a group of angels whose job is to dump the wicked into the hellfire. And Allah Ta'ala made the Zabaniya 19. When Allah Ta'ala told the Kuffar, the Zabaniya, they are 19, they said, oh, we don't have to worry. Only 19, we don't have to worry. We are going to gang up against these angels. They can't dump us into the hellfire. We're going to gang up against them. So Allah revealed Surah 74, verse 31, to answer the Kuffar. وَمَا جَعَلْنَا أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ إِلَّا مَلَائِكَةً وَمَا جَعَلْنَا عِدَّتَهُمْ إِلَّا فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And we have set none but angels as guardians over the hellfire. Surah 74, verse 31. Surah 74, verse 31. And we have set none to guard the hellfire except angels. And we have fixed their number at 19 only as a fitna for the kuffar, in order that the people of the scripture, Jews and Christians, may arrive at a certainty that the Quran is the truth, as it agrees with their books regarding the number 19. So the kuffar were saying, if it is only 19 angels who are going to dump us in the hellfire, we are going to gang up against them and beat them up. They can't dump us into the hellfire. So when they said that to the Prophet, Allah revealed, we made the number as 19 as a fitna for the kuffar. 19 angels, they are called the Zabaniya, who will dump the kuffar into the hellfire. They are very narrow-minded and short-sighted to think that they can compare the power of a man to the power of an angel. It's called qiyas. Qiyas means to compare, analogy. Ahmad ibn Hanbal said most mistakes are made with wrong qiyas. The Kafirs, they compare their strength to that of the angels and think that they can gang up against the 19 angels whose job is it to dump them into the hellfire. So Allah reveals Surah Muzammil, verse 31, that we didn't Surah Mudaththir, verse 31. We didn't put anyone over the hellfire to guard the hellfire except angels. We only use angels to guard the hellfire. And we made the number 19, Surah Mudaththir, verse 30 to 31. We made the number 19 as a fitna for the kuffar. وَمَا جَعَلْنَا أَصْحَابَ النَّارِ إِلَّا مَلَائِكَةً وَمَا جَعَلْنَا عِدَّتَهُمْ إِلَّا فِتْنَةً لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. How stupid Kafirs are to use qiyas, to compare, a comparison. To say that we can gang up against the 19 angels and beat them up, they can't dump us into the hellfire. We, the kuffar, we are millions of people. How can 19 angels take us on? How can 19 angels take us on when we are millions? Actually, Kafirs are not millions. Kafirs are billions. China is a billion. India is a billion. Europe is a billion. Africa is a billion. So kuffar are billions. And because of that, they are confident that they can gang up against the 19 angels and beat them up. They can't dump them into the hellfire. Allah said, I made the number 19 as a fitna for you, the kuffar. Secondly, I made it number 19 to establish a point that the Quran agrees with the scriptures of the Jews and the Christians, because in your holy books, the angels who are keeping the hellfire, they are also 19. Allah said, I made it number 19 to establish a point that the Quran agrees with the scriptures of the Jews and the Christians, because in your holy book, the number is also 19. So they will say, didn't a warner come to you? This is called a rhetorical question, because the angels know that a warner did come. Surah 16 verse 36. وَلَكَمْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. There is not a single nation on earth except that we sent unto it its own Rasul, its messenger, commanding the people to worship Allah alone and to reject faith in the Taghut. What is the Taghut? The false deities. The Christians worship Jesus. Is Jesus a Taghut? No, Jesus is not a Taghut. The believers worship Muhammad. Is Muhammad a Taghut? No, Muhammad is not a Taghut. In order for you to be called a Taghut, you have to know that the people are worshiping you, and you agree for the worship to take place, because the worship massages your ego. Then you become a Taghut. You know that the worship is taking place, and you agree for the worship to continue. You didn't stop the people, because the worship massages your ego. Then you become a Taghut. Jesus didn't agree for people to worship him. When he was with his 12 disciples, he made statements for them to know that he's not God. John 5 verse 30. He said, I have no authority to do anything. Another evidence that Jesus didn't preach that he's God, John 5 verse 37. Jesus said, I have no authority to do anything. I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which sent me. And the Father himself which has sent me hath borne witness of me. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form. You have neither heard his voice at any time, nor seen his form. Jesus said, I am not God, because God who sent me, you have never heard his voice, nor seen his form. If I was God, you would have seen me and heard me. But God, you have neither heard his voice, nor seen his form. All these are evidences that Jesus didn't tell people to worship him. And the Christians are evil to elevate Jesus to God, to the level of God himself. John 20 verse 17. John 20 verse 17. Jesus said, I am ascending to my God and your God. So, in order to be a proper debater, to debate with the Christians, you need to know these verses of the Bible that preaches Tawheed. There is Tawheed in the Bible. So for the Christians to be preaching paganism, Trinity, that means they're very, very evil, because their holy book is saying one thing and they're saying something totally different. What did Jesus say? I am ascending to my God and your God. So how can he be God? So Jesus is not a Taghut, because for you to be a Taghut, you have to agree for people to worship you. You have to know that the worship is taking place and you didn't stop them, because the worship massages your ego. Then you're a Taghut. When the angel said to them, Alam ya'tikum nadhir, didn't a nadhir come to you, a warner? This question is called a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is when you ask a question but you don't want an answer, you are using the question to establish a point. It is called a rhetorical question. You ask a question but you already know the answer. You are using the question to establish a point. The angels know that a nadhir came because Allah said for every prophet we sent, for every nation we sent a messenger. They will say to the angels, Bala qad ja'ana nadhir fakadhabna wa qulna ma nazzal Allah min shay in antum illa fi dalalin kabir. Ayah 9. They will say, yes, indeed a warner did come to us, but we denied him and said, Allah never sent down anything. Allah didn't send down any revelation. You are only in great error, a big error. You are making a big mistake, because Allah didn't reveal anything. So they will admit their guilt before they are convicted and dumped into hellfire. And because Allah Ta'ala has infinite justice, Allah will never punish a people until He sends a warner to them, to warn them about their evil ways. Surah 17 verse 15. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذَّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Allah said, look, we will never punish the evil ones until we send a warner to them, a Rasul. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذَّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Whoever goes right, then he goes right only for the benefit of his own self. And whoever goes astray, then he goes astray to his own loss. No one laden with burden can bear another's burden. And we never punish until we have sent a messenger to give a warning. That is called Allah Ta'ala's infinite justice. Infinite justice means His perfect justice. He would never punish the wayward until He sends a warner to warn them about their evil ways. So all these people who are being dumped into the hellfire by the Zabaniya, the 19 angels, they were all given a warning. But why they did not take heed? Because they were addicted to their evil and corrupted desires. Now, did you know that sins are addictive? And Allah Ta'ala said, if I should say to them on Judgment Day, they are going to come to me on Judgment Day and they are going to say, put me back in the dunya so that I can work righteous deeds. Surah 23 verse 99 to 100. Surah 23 verses 99 to 100. حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعوني لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها ومن ورائهم برزخ إلى يوم يبعثون. Surah 23 verses 99 to 100. Until when death comes to one of them, those who join partners with Allah, he says, my Lord, send me back into the dunya so that I may do good in that which I have left behind. No, it is but a word that he speaks. It's just a fake promise. If I put him back in the dunya, he will do the exact same haram things. He'll even go back to becoming a homosexual because sins are addictive. If I put him back in the dunya, he's going to go back to do the same haram things. It is but a word that he speaks. And behind them is a barzakh, a barrier, until the day when they will be resurrected. The Arabic word barzakh means a barrier. So these people who did Zabaniya are dumped into the hellfire. Allah said, if I put them back in the dunya, they are going to do the same haram things, or maybe they will behave worse. Why? Because sins are addictive. They might be even worse if I put them back in the dunya. So Allah said, Kalla, it's just a fake promise they are making. Behind them is a barzakh until the day of resurrection. What is a barzakh? A barrier. A barzakh is a barrier. So they will say, yes, a warner did come, but we rejected faith in the warner and told the warner, Allah did not reveal anything and they are in big error. Dalal Kabir. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير. And they will say, if only we had listened to the warner and used our intelligence, our aql. If only we had used our aql, our intelligence, we would never end up today in the hellfire to abide forever. What is this verse telling you? Verse 10, that you need to use your aql to know the good from the bad, the pure from the corrupted, the truth from the false. This verse is telling you that you use your aql to know that there is one God. Your aql tells you there is one God. And your aql tells you that the world could never come about by accident. We refuted the atheist yesterday. Your aql tells you that it is impossible for the world to come about by accident. Because anything that comes about by accident, it continues to exist by accident. The first argument we used yesterday against the atheists is the sun, which is positioned with accuracy above our heads. If the sun is too close to us, we will become baked like baked chicken and die from intense heat. And if the sun is too far away from us, we will freeze to death. The sun is meticulously, scrupulously, and accurately positioned over our heads to sustain life on earth. If the world had come about by accident, it would run according to order and perfection, the way it is presently running according to order and perfection. So your akhl tells you that there is a supreme being, because the world runs according to order and perfection, with conformity and uniformity and unity. Conformity, uniformity, and unity. So Allah Ta'ala told you in the Quran, these people on Judgment Day are saying, if only they are regretting. Did you know that Judgment Day is called the day of grief and regret? Yawm al-Hasrah. Judgment Day has 99 names. One of the names is Yawm al-Hasrah, the day of grief and regret. Did you know that? Do you know that Judgment Day is called Yawm al-Targhib, the day of loss and gain? Taghabun. The day of loss and gain, a gain for the Muslims, a great loss for the kuffar. The real loser is the man who loses his body and soul and his family on the day of resurrection. These kuffar are saying, if only we had used our aql, we would never end up in the hellfire. Our question to the Christians is, when you used to go to church and the priest said, Holy Mary, Mother of God, why didn't you use your aql and say, how can God be born from the womb of a woman? Why didn't you use your aql? I was only 16 when I took my shahada. I wasn't 26 or 36 or 46 when I took shahada. I was 16. And I thought I took shahada young, 16. I've given shahada to many 13-year-olds. Many 13-year-olds in my lifetime. I was in Botswana in Africa in the year 2009. And I've given shahada to 45 kids in the masjid. Most of them were teenagers. When you used to go to the Hindu temple and they celebrated Diwali, the festival of light, and then the Hindu priest explained to you Diwali, that their god Ram was banished from the city, and when he was coming back, it was dark, it was night, and the god cannot see in the dark, so they had to light up the city because they were afraid that he will trip over and hurt himself. Why didn't you use your aql and say, how can God cannot see in the dark? Why didn't you use your aql? And when you were taught atheism, that men evolved from monkeys, nobody created us, why didn't you use your aql and say, if monkeys are our fathers, why is it the DNA is totally different? We can't give blood to monkeys and monkeys can't give blood to us. Why didn't you use your aql? When you were taught Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, there are three gods, why didn't you say to yourself, if we had more than one gods in the universe, the heavens and the earth would have been destroyed? Because one God wants the sun to shine and the other God wants the rain to fall. So who's going to back down? One God thinks a man should die, he's now 80 years old. The other God said, let him live another 10 years until he's 90, for him to die at 90. Who's going to back down? God doesn't back down. So in Surah 21, verse 22, Allah said, لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا آلِهَةٌ إِلَّا اللَّهُ لَفَسَدَتَا. If we had more than one God governing the universe, both the heavens and the earth would have been destroyed. لَوْ كَانَ فِيهِمَا آلِهَةٌ إِلَّا اللَّهُ لَفَسَدَتَا. If we had more than one God governing the universe, both the heavens and the earth would be completely destroyed. The world runs according to order and perfection because we have only one supreme being governing the universe. You have never seen two husbands in a house, three husbands in a house, one wife, three husbands. You have never seen three presidents in a country who enjoy the power of veto. You have never seen three presidents in a country, three kings in one kingdom, three husbands in the same house. So what makes you think we have three gods in the universe, governing the universe? Why didn't you use your aql? Why did you die a kafir? The worst people are those who don't use their aql. Allah said, because you don't use your aql, you are no longer a person. You are now a beast. الدابة. And Allah said in Surah 8 verse 22, إن شر الدواب عند الله SURAH Al Mulk الذين لا يعقلون. Verily, the worst of created creatures in the sight of Allah is the person who is deaf, dumb and blind. He doesn't think for himself. So because of that, he is no longer called a person. He is called a beast, a dabba, and he is the worst of beasts. Why you are called the worst of beasts by Allah in the Quran? Because Allah gave you aql and you refuse to use your aql, your intellect, your intelligence. And because you do not use your intelligence, your destiny shall be the hellfire to abide forever. And on the day of judgment you will confess to the angels, whose job to dump you in the hellfire. If only we had used our aql when we were in the dunya, we would never end up today on judgment day in the hellfire to abide forever. فَاعْتَرَفُوا بِذَنبِهِمْ. So they will admit their guilt. Ayah 11. فَاعْتَرَفُوا بِذَنبِهِمْ فَسُحْقًا لِأَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. Then they will confess their sin, so away with the dwellers of the blazing fire. Suhkan, suhkan. Who will use this word on judgment day? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Suhkan, suhkan. Why the Prophet will say that? Get lost, get lost, get away from me, get away from me. Because some people will come out of their graves barefooted, naked, uncircumcised, thirsty, and they will rush to drink from the fountain of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will look in their faces and he will recognize them, but two angels will stop them from drinking. He will say, my people, my sahabas. The angels will say, you don't know what they did after you left. They innovated new things in the religion after you left. And the Rasul will say, what? Suhkan, suhkan, remove from me, get away from me. Those who change my religion after me. Suhkan, suhkan, get away from me, get away from me. Who? Those who change my religion after me, those who innovated into my religion, or those who cut the necks of each other after me. Suhkan, suhkan. When an Arab says suhkan, suhkan, it means to get lost, get lost. Suhkan, suhkan. Get away from me, get away from me. Anyone who changed my religion after me. Get away from me, get away from me. Those who innovated new things into my religion after me. And the people of innovation, Allah Ta'ala asks them a crucial question in the Holy Quran. The people of innovation, Allah Ta'ala asks them a crucial question in the Holy Quran, Surah 49 verse 16. قُلْ أَتُعَلِّمُونَ اللَّهَ بِدِينِكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. The people of innovation, Allah is asking you a crucial question in the Quran. Say, will you inform Allah about your deen? Are you trying to teach Allah the deen? You add to Islam and subtract from Islam. The people of bid'ah, Allah is asking you a question in the Quran. قُلْ أَتُعَلِّمُونَ اللَّهَ بِدِينِكُمْ. Are you seeking to teach Allah the deen? Well, Allah knows all that is in the heavens and all that which is on earth, and Allah is all aware of everything. So on Judgment Day, the Prophet will say, Suhkan, suhkan. Get away from me, get away from me. Anyone who changes my religion after me. No one will be dumped into the hellfire until they confess their guilt. Because Allah's justice is infinite justice. So before a person is dumped into the hellfire to abide forever, if he's a kafir forever, if he's a Muslim for a short while, because he will come out with intercession of Muhammad, no one will be dumped into the hellfire until they confess their guilt. And this is all part and parcel of Allah Ta'ala's infinite justice. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَخْشُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَيْبِ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةٌ وَأَجْرٌ كَرِيمٌ. Very those who fear their Lord, the unseen, they do. Very those who fear their Lord, the unseen, they do not see Him, and they don't see His punishment in the hereafter, but still they fear Him. There will be forgiveness and a great reward. The great reward is a paradise. The Prophet Muhammad said 7 people will be beneath the shade of Allah on Judgment Day when there will be no shade except the shade of Allah. One of them is who? The man who fears his Lord in secret when he locks himself up until he cries. And 2 sets of eyes, it is haram for the hellfire to burn these eyes. Which eyes? The eyes that cry from the fear of Allah, and the eyes that watch over the borders of the Islamic State while the other Muslims are sleeping. He is called a murabit. He keeps watch at the border post. Murabit. The person who keeps watch at the border post, looking for the enemy while the other Muslims are sleeping. 2 eyes, Allah makes it haram and hellfire to burn these eyes. The eyes that cry tears for the fear of Allah, and the eyes that keep watch over the borders of the Islamic State. 7 people will be beneath the shade of Allah on Judgment Day, when there will be no shade except the shade of Allah. These are 7 special people. A just ruler, a youth who grew up in the worship of his Lord. So if you are a born Muslim and didn't go astray, you didn't go to nightclubs, you didn't sleep around with boys, you didn't sleep around with girls, you didn't smoke weed, you didn't drink alcohol, you didn't take drugs, you didn't do drugs, you grew up in Islam as a born Muslim, you will be beneath the shade of Allah on Judgment Day, when no one else can shade you except Allah. A man whose heart is connected to the masjid. 2 men who love each other for the sake of Allah, they meet and they part for that reason. The man in which a beautiful woman called him to bed for illegal intercourse, but he says, no, I fear Allah. A man who gives with the charity. When he gives with the right hand, the left hand doesn't know about it. A man who remembers Allah in private to the extent where he shed tears. Bukhari and Muslim. This is what Allah is talking about here in Ayah 12 of Surah Mulk. إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كريم. Very those who fear their Lord, the unseen. In ghaib means in secret. They lock themselves up and they remember Allah by themselves in secret. Bil-ghaib means they fear Allah even when no eyes were watching them. For them will be maghfirah, forgiveness, and a great reward, and that reward is paradise to abide forever. And keep your secret thoughts or disclose them. Verily, He is all knower of what is in the breast of men. Whether you expose your secret talks or you conceal, whether you reveal the secret talks or conceal them, it makes no difference, because Allah Ta'ala hears the secret talks. Allah Ta'ala is As-Sami' al-Basir, the all-hearing, the all-seeing, Al-Alim, the all-knowing, Al-Hakim, the all-wise. It makes no difference what you do to the secret talks. And Allah Ta'ala spoke about secret talks in Nisa 114, that the majority of these secret talks, there is no good in them. The majority of these secret talks is always plotting evil. There is no good in them. لا خير في كثير من نجواهم إلا من أمر بصدقة أو معروف أو إصلاح بين الناس. There is no good in most of these secret talks, save him in who orders sadaqah, to give charity, or maruf, righteous deeds, or he orders the reconciliation between people. So if you use your speaking ability to reconcile people, then you'll get a great reward from Allah. So you and your secret talks, Allah is saying, I heard your secret talks. And if you had taqwa, you wouldn't be indulging in secret talks to harm people. Because on Judgment Day, Allah Ta'ala will remind you about your secret talks, to plot evil against people with your secret talks. Allah said most of these secret talks, they have no good in them, except the one who uses secret talks to command sadaqah, charity, or ma'ruf, righteous deeds, or to reconcile the warring factions, especially to bring back a man and his wife together. It is called to reconcile people. Sometimes a person would come to Pal Talk and they use a dodgy nick to slander and backbite people, as if to say they don't believe in Judgment Day. Ibn Shihab said he did not hear the exemption was granted in anything that the people speak as lie, but in 3 cases in the battlefield, to bring in reconciliation amongst persons, narration of the words, for example, between husband and wife, to reconcile between people, twisted form in order to bring reconciliation between people. You are allowed to lie to make a husband and wife make up, because the family structure is sacred. You can lie to reconcile a man and his wife. You can lie to save a marriage. So these secret talks that you hold to bring harm to the ummah, Allah is aware of it. Not a leaf falls from the tree without the knowledge of Allah. Surah 6 verse 59. Even though the trees are millions and billions all over the world, not a leaf falls from the tree anywhere in the world without the knowledge of Allah. So Allah said, أَلَا يَعْلَمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. Should not he who has created know, and he is the most kind and courteous to his slaves, the well acquainted with everything. So because Allah is well acquainted with everything, not a leaf falls from the tree anywhere in the world without the knowledge of Allah. Surah 6 verse 59. He it is who has made the earth subservient to you, easy to walk on, to live and to do agriculture on it. So walk in the paths thereof and eat of its provisions. The provisions Allah provide for you, and to him will be the resurrection. So Allah said, I made the earth subservient to you. And Allah said in Surah 78 verse 7, I put the mountains, these huge, gigantic mountains that you see on earth. Surah 78 verse 7. I put them on the earth as pegs to make the earth stable. So when you walk along the earth, it doesn't wobble with you. وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا. What Allah said? وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا. The mountains are أَوْتَادًا, pegs. I put them on earth to make the earth still. So when you walk along the earth, it doesn't wobble. هُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمْ الْأَرْضَ ذَلُولًا. It is Allah Ta'ala who has made the earth ذَلُولًا, subservient to you. Therefore, live and do agriculture on it, so walk in the paths thereof and eat of His provision, the provision that Allah has provided, and to Him will be the resurrection. أَأَمِنْتَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ أَنْ يَخْسِفَ بِكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فَإِذَا هِيَ تَمُورُ. Do you feel yourself secure against the one who is above? He's over there, that He'll cause the earth to sink with a violent earthquake. Earthquake is one of the most devastating natural disasters that you can experience. A storm came to Jamaica last year, Hurricane Sandy. How many are devastating storm? How many people died? One man. Only one man died. If an earthquake should come to a country, thousands die. An earthquake is the most devastating natural disaster you can experience, because you are in a 5, 6, 10-story building and you are buried under the rubble. To die buried under rubble is so painful. The Prophet said, if you die in that way, you die the death of a shaheed. When Aisha was approached and they asked her about earthquake, she turned her face away. I think it was Anas ibn Malik who approached her. When Aisha was approached by Anas ibn Malik and they asked her about earthquake, what did Aisha do? She turned her face away. And when they insisted, then she answered the question. Anas says, I went into the presence of Aisha with someone else was seated with her. The person asked, O mother of the believers, relate to us regarding earthquakes. As to their cause, what did she do? She turned her face away. Because earthquake is devastating. Just to think about it is devastating to the human mind. Anas asked her, relate to us regarding earthquakes. So he insisted, O mother of the believers. She said, O Anas, if I were to inform you thereof, you will live a sorrowful life and you will die in this state of grief. And you will be raised on the day of judgment, which this grief is in your heart. Why? The magnitude of this devastation will cause you to live your life in grief. I said, O mother, relate to me. She then said, when a woman removes her clothes in a house other than her husband's, indicating adultery, she took off her clothes in a house that doesn't belong to her husband. She tears the veil between her and Allah. When she applies perfume to please a male other than her husband, this will be a source of fire and blemish for her. When the people then begin to commit adultery, consume alcohol, and use musical instruments, Allah becomes enraged above the heavens and orders the earth to shake them. If they repent and refrain, then it is good for them. Otherwise, Allah will cause it to fall upon them. I ask, is this their punishment? She said, it is rather a mercy, a means of blessing and admonition for the believers, and a punishment display of anger and torment for the disbelievers. This is the verdict in regards to punishment, the Mustadrak of Al-Hakim. Do you see natural disasters like earthquakes happening in Mecca or Medina? Never. Never. Why? Allah said, وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Allah swore by the fig and the olive and Mount Sinai, and Allah swore by Mecca, the city of safety and security. You will never see these natural disasters in Mecca or Medina. Earthquakes is a result of sins, adultery and alcohol and musical instruments. And when people commit these types of haram on the earth, it shakes with them. The earth shakes with them. And on the day, the earth will testify against all the people who did haram on the surface of the earth. إِذَا زُلْزِلَتِ الْأَرْضُ زِلْزَالَهَا وأخرجت الأرض أثقالها وقال الإنسان ما لها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها يومئذ تحدث أخبارها. On the day, the earth will testify against the people who did haram on the surface of the earth. So because of that, Allah said يومئذ تحدث أخبارها. Here in Surah Mulk, Allah Ta'ala is speaking about the earth. أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ أَنْ يَخْسِفَ بِكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فَإِذَا هِيَ تَمُورُ. Do you feel yourself secure against the one who is above the heavens, that he will make the earth quake with you with a violent earthquake? Do you feel yourself secure against an earthquake? Why do you dabble in zina? Why do you dabble in khamr? Why do you dabble in homosexuality? Why do you dabble in lesbianism? Why do you dabble in casino gambling? Why do you dabble in riba? Do you feel yourself secure? Why do you commit sins with impunity and immunity? Why do you continue to commit sins with impunity and immunity? Allah is asking you a question in Surah Mulk. أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ أَنْ يَخْسِفَ بِكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فَإِذَا هِيَ تَمُورُ. Do you feel yourself secure against the one who is above the heavens, that he will make the earth quake with you with a violent earthquake? Why do you continue to commit sins with impunity and immunity? Haven't you heard about the earthquake of Kobe in Japan 1995? It lasted 20 seconds. 20 seconds, and the devastation was what? 100 billion US dollars. Never underestimate the punishment of Allah. 1995. Kobe, Japan. The earthquake lasted 20 seconds. Only 20 seconds. And what was the damage? 100 billion. 100 billion US dollars in damages within 20 seconds. Kobe, Japan, 1995. One of the biggest earthquakes to hit mankind. So Allah is saying in Surah Mulk, أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ. Do you feel yourself secure against the one who is above the heavens? You are on earth committing zina, drinking alcohol, committing homosexuality and even incest, and committing bestiality. You allow bestiality in your countries and incest in your countries. You even allow your soldiers to have sex with the dogs they take with them to the battlefield. You even allow animal brothels in Denmark, and you allow men to have sex with their daughters in France. You have turned the world into a habitation of human devils. You, the kuffar, you have turned the world into a habitation of human devils. And every time my awliya tries to implement Sharia in Afghanistan and Somalia and Mali and Yemen to kill people for Sharia, you have turned the world into a habitation of human devils. Everything which is haram, you have made it halal. So Allah is asking you a question. Do you feel yourself secure against the one who is above the heavens, that he will make the earth shake with you with a violent earthquake? So you become nothing but human beings who are confined to the dustbin of history. You become forgotten. The sunnah of Allah is to destroy people with earthquakes when they dabble in zina and khamar. That is the sunnah of Allah. The sunnah of Allah is to destroy people with earthquakes when they dabble in zina and khamr. And Allah told you in the Quran, you will never find any change in the sunnah of Allah. Surah 35 verse 43. Surah 35 verse 43. You will never find any change in the sunnah of Allah. And the sunnah of Allah is to destroy people with natural disasters when they dabble in zina and khamr. So Allah Ta'ala said, فَهَلْ يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَّا سُنَّةَ الْأَوَّلِينَ فَلَنْ تَجْرِ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَنْ تَجْرِ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا. Then can they expect anything else but the sunnah of dealing with the people of old? How it dealt with the people who came before them, the people of old? So no change will you find in the sunnah of Allah in dealing with the wayward. There will be no turning off from the sunnah of Allah in dealing with the wayward, the evil people. أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ أَنْ يَخْسَفَ بِكُمُ الْأَرْضَ فَإِذَا هِيَ تَمُورُ. Allah declares in Surah Mulk verse 16 that He is Fis Sama. And when the Rasul approached the slave girl and said, where is Allah? What did she say? Fis Sama, above the heavens. My question to the Tablighi Jama'ah, you brag and boast, we have a lot of hafiz in our community. What's the point in memorizing the Quran but you don't believe in it? That's my question to the Tablighi Jama'ah. You brag and boast, we have the most hafiz. We produce the most hafiz around the world. What's the point in memorizing the Quran but you don't believe in it? The Prophet said what? Al-Quran hujjatun lak aw alik. This Quran will be a testimony either for you or against you on the day of judgment. You the Tablighi Jama'ah, you don't believe Allah is Fis Sama, above the heavens. You say Allah is everywhere. You the Brailis, the Sufis, the goofy Sufis, the Shiites, the Ash'ari, the Tablighi Jama'ah, the Habashis of Australia. All of you say what? Allah is everywhere. The Mu'tazila, the Ash'ari, the Tablighi Jama'ah, the Sufi, the goofy Sufi. When I was on tour of South Africa, they called me to open a masjid, a newly built masjid. They built it in a black neighborhood, built by Indians, rich Indians in a black neighborhood, because Islam was spreading in that neighborhood. I said, where is the section for sisters? They said, we don't have any section for sisters. I said, but these are black women coming from the church. How comes there's no section for sisters? Judge said to me, Aisha said, if the Prophet was alive and see how the women dress to go to the masjid, the Prophet would never allow them to go to the masjid. That's the hadith they threw in my face in the year 2008 when I was on tour of South Africa. They threw that hadith in my face. If the Prophet was alive and see how the women dress scantily to go to the masjid, the Prophet would never allow the women to go to the masjid. That's why they don't build section for sisters. That's the hadith they threw in my face in South Africa. 2008 when I was on the tour. But you say Aisha is a mother of the believers, so we have to follow what Aisha says. Aisha is a mother of the believers, so we have to follow what she said. Zainab bin Jahsh is a mother of the believer as well. Zainab bin Jahsh, she's a mother of the believer as well. The same way Aisha is a mother of the believer. What about Zainab bin Jahsh? She's a mother of the believer as well. And you told me we need to follow the mothers of the believers. That's what you told me. So I'm going to checkmate you now. Zainab bin Jahsh used to boast in front of the other wives of the Prophet. You were given to the Prophet by your families in the dunya. I was given to the Prophet by Allah from above the seven heavens. Zainab bin Jahsh declared that Allah is above the seven heavens. Why don't you follow that? And this hadith is in Bukhari. You're a hypocrite. You follow the mothers of the believers when it suits you, and when it doesn't suit you, you dump their verdicts. You're a hypocrite. You don't follow the mothers of the believers. Zainab bin Jahsh used to boast in front of the other wives. You were given to the Prophet by your families in the dunya. As for me, Zainab bin Jahsh, I was given to the Prophet by Allah from above the seven heavens. Why don't you follow that? You're a hypocrite. You are the Shiites who pick and choose which hadith to follow. Every time I debate with a Shia, he believes in some hadith in Bukhari and some hadith he says fabricated. What hypocrisy. You're a hypocrite and a waste of space. If you're going to pick and choose which mother of the believers you are going to follow, that means you're a hypocrite and a waste of space. What a hypocrite and a waste of space. أأمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نذير. Or do you feel secure that he who is over the heavens will not send against you a violent whirlwind? Then you shall know how terrible has been my warning. Ayah 17. Ayah 17. Do you feel secure? You are on earth committing all types of sins. Do you feel yourself secure that he who is over the heaven will send against you a violent wind? Then you shall know how terrible is my warning. Now, when you read Ayah 17 of Surah Mulk, I am sure what comes to your mind. I'm sure. I know what you're thinking. I know what all of you are thinking when you read this ayah. You are thinking about Hurricane Katrina. New Orleans is called the Big Easy. New York is called the Big Apple. The Big Apple, if you want to get rich, you go to New York, is the Big Apple. Everyone wants a slice of the apple. The Big Apple, New York. The Big Easy, New Orleans. A gay city. Anybody can have sex with anybody in New Orleans is the Big Easy. That's the nickname they give New Orleans. The capital for black magic in America. And the murder capital is New Orleans. New Orleans was the murder capital and the capital of black magic in America. And it is a gay city where they have the Mardi Gras, they march. Mardi Gras. Gays and lesbians marching. And they like to brag and boast, we are queer and we are here. That's what they say in the march. Mardi Gras. We are queer and we are here. Did you see what Allah did to New Orleans? You are on earth committing all manner of evils. You have turned New Orleans into the gay capital, the murder capital, the black magic capital. Everything which is evil, you made it New Orleans, and you call it what? The Big Easy. Everything is hunky-dory, everything goes. Look what Allah did to New Orleans, Hurricane Katrina 2005. The devastation was so huge, so gigantic and humongous, the President Bush could not tour the disaster zone in a 4x4. When there's a natural disaster, the President toured in a 4x4 to look at the disaster. A 4x4 vehicle, a Pajero, a Shogun. He has to tour the disaster zone in Air Force One. So huge was the disaster zone, the President had to tour the zone in Air Force One. Air Force One is the plane built to carry the US President. Allah is asking you a question in Surah Mulk. Surah Mulk verse 17. You are down there on earth committing all manner of evil, fornication, adultery, homosexuality, lesbianism, women marry women, men marry men, and you even allow people to marry animals. Say, I'm married but I have an animal partner. That's what the Kafirs say. I'm married, yes, but I have an animal partner. You have turned the world into a habitation of human devils. Allah is asking you a question in Surah Mulk verse 17. أَأَمِنْتُمْ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاءِ أَنْ يُرْسِلَ عَلَيْكُمْ حَاصِبًا فَسَتَعْلَمُونَ كَيْفَ نَذِيرٌ. Do you feel yourself secure against the one who is over the heavens, that he will send against you a violent whirlwind? Then you will know how terrible what has been my warning. That is the question Allah is asking you in Surah Mulk verse 17. وَلَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَذِيرٌ. And indeed those who came before you, they denied the messengers. The way you are presently denying the messenger. Then look how terrible was my punishment, my denial punishment. Look how terrible was their fate. Those who reject faith in my message, look what happened to them. The reason why Allah said, look at the people who came before you, look what happened to them. The reason why Allah said, look what happened to them is because the sunnah of Allah doesn't change. The sunnah of Allah is to punish the wayward. with natural disasters. Allah told you in Surah 35 verse 43, فَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا. You never find any tabdeel or tahweel in the Sunnah of Allah. The Sunnah of Allah simply doesn't change. Surah 35 verse 43. And because the Sunnah of Allah doesn't change, He punished the wayward with natural disasters. Allah said what? Look at those who came before, who used to deny my message the way you deny. Look how terrible was my denial punishment. Do they not see the birds above them spreading out their wings and folding them? None keep them up in the sky. Nothing keeps them up in the sky except the mercy of Allah. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ صَافَّاتٍ وَيَقْبِضْنَ مَا يُمْسِكُهُنَّ إِلَّا الرَّحْمَنُ إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ بَصِيرٌ. Surah Mulk verse 19. Do they not look at the birds above them, spreading out their wings and folding them in? None upholds them except the most gracious Allah. Verily, He is all-seer of everything. When you read Surah Mulk verse 19, I can tell what comes to your mind. Nothing can fly in the sky without the permission of Allah. Have you heard about the Challenger? 1985. President Reagan cancelled all his appointments to mourn the Challenger, the space shuttle that exploded 7 seconds after flying off. Everybody on board was dead. The Challenger disaster. President Reagan cancelled all his appointments, his presidential appointments, to stay in the White House to mourn the Challenger. It exploded 7 seconds after it went up in the sky from the Kennedy Space Shuttle station. Nothing can fly in the air or sail on the surface of the sea without the permission of Allah. Nothing can fly in the air or sail on the sea without the permission of Allah. When they built the Titanic, they call it the Titanic, the Greek god of the sea. What a name, the Titanic, the Greek god of the sea. And when you walk around with Nike, Nike is haram because Nike means the Greek goddess of victory. Nike is haram, the Greek goddess of history. The people who built the Titanic, they said not even God can sink our ship. Not even God Himself can sink our ship. That's what they declared. What happened to the Titanic? 1912. They could not turn away from the iceberg, and the iceberg cut the ship in 2 equal halves. But you brag and boast that our ship was built by the most heirs. Not even God can sink our ship. And they called the ship and named the Titanic the Greek god of the sea. Nothing can sail in the ocean or fly in the air except by the will of Allah. And Allah said, even the birds that fly in the air that you see, they only fly because I give them the permission to fly. They fly by my grace and by my mercy. Who is He besides the most gracious that can be an army to you to help you? The disbelievers are in nothing but delusion. Allah said that the kuffar are delusional. They put their tawakkul in their armies, but the real army is the army of Allah. Only Allah Ta'ala can give victory. Ayah 20. You the kuffar, you are delusional. Because you put your tawakkul in the army and the army can't help you. The Russians put their tawakkul in the army and they invaded Afghanistan. Where is the USSR today? Where is the USSR today? They put their tawakkul, their trust in the army and they invaded Afghanistan. Where is the USSR today? I give you the answer. They are in the dustbin of history. That's where they are. They are in the dustbin of history. History repeats itself. Make no mistake about it. The USA, the United Snakes of America, they invaded Afghanistan. If they stay in Afghanistan, they are going to lose, and if they pull out, they lose. Afghanistan is the graveyard of superpowers. Afghanistan is the graveyard of all the so-called superpowers. Why did the USA make such a huge mistake? Don't you know why? Because they put their tawakkul in weapons of mass destruction. They don't realize that they plot and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. You the kuffar, you plot and Allah plans, and Allah Ta'ala is the best of planners. Surah 3 verse 54. You the kuffar, you plot and Allah plans, and Allah Ta'ala is the best of planners. You put your tawakkul in weapons of mass destruction. Surah 3 verse 54. Don't you realize that technology can always be sabotaged? You made a documentary. I saw the documentary. You said that these American tanks, it cost $1 million to make one tank, and people make IEDs and blow the tank up, and the IED costs $5 US. How can $5 US destroy $1 million US? Well, that's what you told me in the documentary. You made a documentary and spoke about it. The IED costs $5 to make. Improvised explosive device. That is IED. Improvised explosive device. And you said these IEDs, they blow up a tank, and the tank cost $1 million US. So if you made a documentary and you were lamenting about your situation in Afghanistan, why don't you get out? I wouldn't stay there. I would get out. If an IED is so cheap and it can destroy a tank, you made a claim when you made the documentary. I saw the documentary. Why don't you just get out? Swallow your pride and get out. Don't you know a proud person always drop on his own sword? But you will never get out because of pride. Pride is the first disgrace. That is a law of nature. Pride is the first disgrace. Because when you are proud, you will never accept the truth. And if you swim against the truth, you are going to drown. If you swim against the tides, you are going to drown. Pride will never allow you to accept the truth. Why did Nimrod die in disgrace? And why did Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl die in disgrace? Because of pride. Why did the Pharaoh die in disgrace? Pride. Pride is the first disgrace, because pride will never allow you to accept the truth. Allah said, who can be an army for you other than Allah? Stop putting your tawakkul in armies and use it to bully people, because all power belongs to Allah, and Allah said what? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no power or strength except from Allah. Is he who walks prone without seeing on his face more rightly guarded, or he who sees and walks upright on a straight way? Ayah 22. أَفَمَنْ يَمْشِي مُكِبًّا عَلَى وَجْهِهِ أَهْدَى أَمَّنْ يَمْشِي سَوِيًّا عَلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ? It's a question I was asking. Is he who walks prone without seeing on his face more rightly guarded, or he who sees and walks upright on the Surat al-Mustaqim? In order for you to be on the Surat al-Mustaqim, you need to get three things right. If you want to be on the Surat al-Mustaqim, you need to get three things right. You need to get your Aqidah right, you need to get your fiqh right, and you need to get your manhaj right. In order for you to be on the Surat al-Mustaqim, you need to get three things right. Your Aqidah has to be right, the creed, your fiqh has to be right, and thirdly, your manhaj has to be right. Manhaj means your methodology of establishing the Islamic State. If you say Allah is everywhere and democracy is shura, your creed is messed up, your aqidah is messed up. If you say people can eat pork and drink wine, your fiqh is messed up. If you say we call for Sharia in Darhab, your manhaj is messed up. We call to Tawheed in Darhab, not Sharia. If you want to be on the straight path, you need to get three things right. Your aqidah has to be right, your fiqh has to be right, and your manhaj has to be right. Manhaj is the methodology of establishing the Islamic State. Say it is He who has created you and endowed you with hearing, seeing, and a heart. Little thanks you give. the faculty of seeing, the faculty of hearing, and the heart that pumps your blood, you can't thank Allah enough for this barakah. But you are not grateful to Allah. Allah is saying, قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Allah said, you didn't thank me enough for your 2 eyes and your 2 ears and for me to give you a heart. You didn't thank me enough. You take this barakah for granted. Why don't you look at the person who's beneath you? If you keep looking at those who are above you, you're not going to thank Allah. To be thankful to Allah, look at the man who is beneath you. What about the man who is blind, no eyes? You have 2 eyes. What about the man who can hear? You have ears to hear. What about the man in a wheelchair, no feet? You have 2 feet. Allah said, you don't thank me enough. قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. Allah said, وَالْعَادِيَاتِ ضَبْحًا فَالْمُورِيَاتِ قَدْحًا فَالْمُغِيرَاتِ صُبْحًا. Allah said, I swear by the adiyat, the horses. Surah 100. What did Allah say? إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لِرَبِّهِ لَكَنُودٌ. Man is ungrateful to his Lord. In many, many verses of the Quran, Allah tells you, man is ungrateful to his Lord. And he himself is a witness to his own ungratefulness. And in the love of wealth, he is vicious, atrocious, and unscrupulous. Vicious, atrocious, and unscrupulous. In the love of wealth, he is violent in his love of wealth. Some of them kill their wives to claim insurance. That's what evil man is. Many, many men, they kill their wives to claim insurance money. Why? Because in the love of wealth, he is violent. He is vicious, atrocious, and unscrupulous. Say, is it he who has created you on the earth, and to him shall you be gathered in the hereafter? Allah Ta'ala has created you on the earth, and you will be gathered to Allah Ta'ala in the hereafter. Ayah 25, say, when will this promise? They, the kuffar, they keep saying, they say, when will this promise come to pass if you are speaking the truth? You are very impatient and you keep saying, when is judgment day? Our question to you, what did you prepare for judgment day? You, the kuffar, you keep saying, when is judgment day? When is it? That's what you are asking. But our question is, are you prepared? What did you prepare for judgment day? Because the law of nature says, he who fails to prepare has got to be prepared to fail. That is another law of nature. So you keep asking us, when is judgment day? When is it? When is it? What did you prepare for judgment day? The law of nature says, he who fails to prepare has got to be prepared to fail. So the appropriate question is, am I prepared for judgment day? If Israfil blows into the trumpet, will I be right with my Lord? Did I worship my Lord, or did I worship my evil and corrupted desires? Am I prepared for judgment day? That is the appropriate question. Say, O Muhammad, the knowledge is of the exact time is with Allah and Allah alone. I am only a plain warner to you. إِنَّمَا أَنَا نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Judgment day, that knowledge is only with Allah. Even Jesus said, I don't know when it's judgment day. Didn't Jesus say, I don't know when it's judgment day? Matthew 24 verse 36. And Jesus said, even the angels, they don't know. I don't know and the angels don't know. Only Allah himself knows. And Jesus said that. Matthew 24 verse 36. Tell the people, O Muhammad, only Allah himself knows when is judgment day, the exact hour. We only know that it's going to be on a Friday. Which Friday? Only Allah knows. We don't know which Friday. But when they will see it, the torment on the day of resurrection approaching, the faces of those who disbelieve will change and turn black with sadness and in grief, and it will be said to them, this is a promise which you were calling for. See at wujuh alladhina kafaru. The faces of those who were evil will become dull with sadness. The Arabic didn't say black, the Arabic say dull. See at wujuh alladhina kafaru. Their faces will become dull with sadness and in grief, and it will be said to them, this is a promise which you were calling for. Say, O Muhammad, tell me, if Allah destroys me and those with me, or He bestows His mercy on us, who can save the disbelievers from a painful torment? Nobody can save the disbelievers from a painful torment. Allah Ta'ala is Al-Qawi, Al-Aziz, the mighty, the strong. Allah is Al-Qahar, the dominant. No one can escape Allah's punishment. Say, He is the most gracious. In Him we believe and in Him we put our trust. So you will come to know who is that is in manifest error. Who is the one who is in manifest error? Ayah 29. The last ayah of the surah. Say, O Muhammad, tell me if your water were to sink away, who then can supply you with food water? Without water you can sustain life on earth. Why is it the last ayah of the surah is talking about water? The very last ayah of the surah, what is it talking about? Water. Without water, life cannot be sustained on earth. Haven't you seen documentaries of kids dying in Africa? Their bellies are big and their legs are thin and they have flies in their eyes. Why? Because there's no water. There's a drought. Without water, life cannot be sustained on earth. Impossible. Many military experts and historians predict that the Third World War will be over water. In Kuwait, water is more expensive than petrol, than gas. I'm sure about that. A liter of water in Kuwait is more than gas. And you need to drink water in order to sustain life. Without water, you're going to die. And there is no replacement for water. Allah is saying, what if He takes away the water from you? Where will you get the water from? There is no replacement for water. There is no substitute for water. The very last ayah of the surah is talking about water, because without water, it is impossible to sustain life on earth. When there is no water, the animals die. The first thing to die will be the crops, the trees, the grass that the animals feed from. The grass die. And then the animals die, and then the human beings die. And the Prophet said, when you don't pay zakah, Allah will take away the water. Can you find the hadith? If you don't pay zakah, Allah will take away His water. Because if you do not show mercy to the creation, why should the Creator show mercy to you? So people who don't pay the zakah, they have terrible rainfall. And the Prophet said, had it not been for the animals that live amongst you, Allah wouldn't bother to send you any water. Because you don't deserve the water. Because you don't pay your zakah. The only reason why Allah sent the water is because the animals are among you. One day Prophet Sulaiman left with his followers to go and pray Salat al-Istikhara. Salat al-Istisqa. Salat Istisqa. The Salat for rain. Salat Istisqa. The Salat for rain. Our people do not keep from giving the zakah on their wealth, except that they will be kept from having rain from the sky. If it were not for the animals, it would not rain. Ibn Majah. This hadith is covered by Sahih. When Sulaiman left his house to pray Salat al-Istisqa, he saw an ant praying. What did he do? He turned back and said, there is no need for us to pray, because one of the creation of Allah has already done Salat al-Istisqa, and the ant was making dua for rain. Can you find the hadith about the ant and Sulaiman? It's in the hadith files, or look for it in Bulugh al-Maram. When he saw the ant praying for rain, he turned back and said, we don't need to pray, an ant is already praying. Every living thing needs water, and Allah said, I created everything from water. Surah 21. Every living thing needs water. And Allah said, I created every living thing from water. Everything was created from water, and you need water to sustain every living thing. Surah 21 verse 30. Have not those who disbelieve know that the heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit, one entity, and then we split them apart, and we have made from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? Every living thing was made from water, and every living thing needs water to sustain life on earth. This is the Big Bang Theory. So a Big Bang took place, but Allah created the Bang. This ayah is talking about the Big Bang. A bang took place, but Allah was the one who created the bang. Did not the disbelievers see the heavens and the earth were drawn together? Then we split them apart, and we create every living thing from water. The last ayah of Surah Mulk is talking about water. It's impossible for life to be sustained on earth without water. Every living thing was made from water, and every living thing needs water to continue to live. Brothers and sisters, this is the last ayah of Surah Mulk. This is a tafsir of Surah Mulk. I won't be taking any questions. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.